There you go. It's working.
You can start it off with a round of applause.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So Donald Trump said some stuff this week.
He says stuff every week.
Anything intelligible?
Not at all.
Well, then it's not news, then, is it?
All right, good.
Sadly, it is to some people.
Well, he is a potential candidate, so it is very important.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. I had to laugh.
You had to laugh, but the sad thing is,
he's not wrong. Yeah.
He actually is a frontrunner. I think that's the sad part about it.
He's not an anime character, so I don't care.
He's a front runner in a nightmare system that beats and abuses us for nearly 2 years of presidential campaigning. Yeah, I'd like to see how he does this time next year.
Like he's not an idol, he's not a magical girl, he's not a superhero. I don't care.
Yep. If he was a magical girl, he'd be my least favorite magical girl. Hang on a second. Drink it.
What's his superpower? Firing people?
Yeah.
And then he got fired.
He uses hair pieces as a power up, maybe. That's like armor or something. Yeah.
Let's go full screen with this.
His transformation includes donning a suit and his wig.
And the money flying around everywhere.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like, I'm not a crazy fan art of that. Oh no.
It's MetaVerse 59. We're getting political here.
Yep.
Yeah, sir.
Well, we're talking about Donald Trump.
Wait, I thought you said political, not comedy.
Mm.
Yep.
We've always done the comedy.
Yeah. Aren't all the candidates really just like comedy? Like Hillary, Jeb Bush. It's like all those fuckers.
Whoa! Think of the children. Oh no, it's okay. This is an 18 plus.
18 plus, yeah. Yeah, we are less than a minute to live. Welcome, whoever. Shoot, I opened PSN. All right. I think now is the time to go live.
Yeah, we've been live. So.
We've been live, so.
Yeah. So.
Actually, start the program.
Right, there you go. That's
official live.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, indeed. Welcome to the MetaVerse podcast. I'm hearing an echo. And this is episode 59, and we are live. This is not only the first time that we have been live in several months, but the first time MetaVerse has happened in any capacity ever since the middle of May. I have been very much slacking off with that, and that is thanks to Destiny's House of Wolves. But enough about that before I go on various rants and such about the game, even though I love it. But welcome into the MetaVerse podcast as we are talking about the summer 2015 anime season. I'm Jero. I'm joined by Foshizzle.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Smiley.
Hello.
Keon.
Hey.
And Shinobu is our guest.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, it's Skylines. Skylines.
It is.
It's great to have Keon here. I mean, we haven't really had him on any. I haven't really had him on any audio stuff in a while. I mean, I had Sam Sura on Begin Time, but that's about it. So it's good to have one of the new blood here.
Yes, it is, and so we need to get Irene on something to complete. Although that was another failure on my part, the new blood thing. But anyway, the summer 15 season is upon us right now. There are a lot of shows coming out. It's pretty big for a summer season. We always think of, in the past summer season, not very big, not a lot of really good shows, but the way anime's been for the past couple of years, summer and winter seasons in their own way seem just as big as spring and fall. Although we still tend to recognize fall and spring, I believe, as the season where your bigger and more popular shows are to debut. So we get started in the summer season. We'll start by talking about a lot of the new shows because there's plenty of sequels that are coming out. But let's get to the new shows first. And God Eater is one I would like to start with because you think about Ufotable and the work that they've done with Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero, and you think about the top-notch action in animation, and so you see God Eater, which is based off a video game, which already kind of puts up flags there. I have no knowledge of the game in the past. I had never even seen gameplay of it until after this anime came out, and then I checked out some YouTube videos, and it looked like a very typical Japanese type of video game. But the visual style of this is very unique, and the sort of the detail that is put into the character designs is, I don't have a proper term to describe how the characters look. There's something about them that seems very accented or something like that. That is
it's like a combo of like cel shaded and like 3D.
Yeah.
That's why I was describing it to someone. Almost like a comic book, American comic book style.
Yeah. But in terms of the action, that has been a little bit disappointing because the animation has not been to the quality that I would have expected from Ufotable. The action, there's a general stiffness to the look of the show.
And a lot of slow-mo used for just random reasons. Because it looks cool, I guess. I'm like, that was cool back, I think, in the 90s when, like, when the Matrix was out and, when bullet time was a thing. Like, every video game I ever played. And God Eater, as far as anime goes, is, like, kind of weird, but I guess they want to go for, like, a cool stylized thing, maybe. I don't really get it, but, yeah.
Zack Snyder has used and abused the ramping slow-mo and all that.
Yeah. That, and you also got to mention the little bit of drama behind this anime with Ufotable running into budget issues or something with studio problems they had run into in the beginning. It was delayed, like, 3-4 weeks? And that's really not a good sign, but most people look at it as, well, they can put more time in it, maybe it's a good thing. But I don't know, it depends on your,
It just seemed like they were, as from what I read, very strained by working on Unlimited Blade Works, and then to that show just ending, and then God Eater just starting.
That, like you said before, since it's based on a video game, those tend not to do very well. I've yet to see a game adaptation besides maybe Persona, which I've never played, but that anime was really good and got you into it. You don't have to be a fan of the games to understand what's going on in the anime. So, but this is more like hack and slash. To me, it felt like I was watching like Devil May Cry and maybe Monster Hunter combined, because the main character is very, I don't know, maybe he's very like the usual protagonist. He's like an Aaron type where he's got to kill all the monsters because they did this to this, which is the formula they use in a lot of shows.
Right. It's difficult to avoid the Attack on Titan comparison.
Exactly.
Yeah, if this show had come out before Attack on Titan, I would have been all over it. But since it came out after that, the Walled City, Big Dumb Monsters thing is kind of on the slow fade.
And not to take a shot at Highway, but I mean, his comment was pretty funny. His complaint anyway about the bracelet. How did they get the pose on over that? I'm just like, I don't know, dude. It's anime. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
But I like God Eater. It's fun. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good enough for me. The one thing that I don't like, that I didn't like about Devil Survivor, which just happens to be another video game anime adaptation, was just how dark that series looked, and that's what I see a lot of in God Eater, is just a lot of darkness, which in some cases, with the whole Ufotable drama thing you just mentioned, that could play a role in why things may look like that. So next up, there's a bunch of shows that start with G. And hey, say hi to Skyline's cat.
Why is he saying yeah at us? That's not a cat.
It's a broken cat. Take it back.
So there's a lot of shows that start with the letter G for some reason, just a coincidence. And next up is Gakko Gurashi, or School Live, and you think it's a moe slice of life comedy series, but then the end of episode 1 happens.
Yeah, I'll start with this one because it's easily my favorite. I've been really excited for this one ever since I started reading manga, and I heard that it's going to get anime. I immediately stopped reading and was like, I'm going to wait because I want to see how it looks animated. And I think animation-wise, it doesn't really do it justice because episode 1 caused a big buzz on Twitter and everywhere that people got a little pissed off at this. You know, they were watching for the cute girls and didn't realize it was going to be a zombie survival horror show, which to me made me laugh. It's like you didn't see any promos. You didn't, take a curious look at maybe something like a manga chapter or anything. And the other team that wanted that, they wanted more zombie, less cute. And yeah, but then you have the third party who's just they watched it because they liked it either way. They didn't care. So it was just funny seeing how there's 3 different camps forming based off of the first episode. People that hated it, and most people that skipped to the very end just to see the big reveal. Which to me was kind of like, that's fine, but it doesn't really. I think it kind of takes away from the show if you do that.
Yeah.
You know, the build-up is way more fun than just skipping. It'd be like watching the Marvel movies. Like, I don't want to see the movie. I want to see the end credits. Like, that's kind of stupid to me, but they'll probably do it, I bet.
It's most enjoyable when you least expect it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that people think this is supposed to be a zombie show. It's not a zombie show. It's a show about these girls that happen to be in a zombie apocalypse. But it's kind of like the setting. It's not so much the focus.
Right.
I
For me, it's a lot like the Walking Dead, like that. The TV show is not about the zombies. It's not about finding the cure. It's about how these characters survive.
Right.
That's always interesting. And Gakko Gurashi does some of that, but they also play with your heart with the whole making some certain characters really, really, really cute. So you kind of feel for them. So, but yeah, Yuki. I'm not gonna spoil anything on what's going on with her, but just her. I like seeing how her mental state is. You know, they show you, as far as the anime goes. I think they're doing a pretty good job, kind of showing you how messed up she thinks. You know, how she sees the world. I like how they present that, while everyone else is playing along, almost like they're playing house with her.
Yeah.
To keep her calm. If they don't, she's gonna freak out. So it's like that part is always interesting to me.
One might say they are playing school with her. But
Right. Yeah.
I actually Yuki is a very interesting character. Obviously, she's arguably the focus of the show, and her mental state is obviously a big deal. I'm actually starting to find her a little bit annoying now, just because some of the things she does kind of exposes the group to unnecessary risk. And I understand it's not her fault. That's how she deals with the way things are right now. But still, every time she does things, like she runs off on her own, or suggests like, "Let's go on a test of courage," in the middle of a zombie-infested school. I was like, "You're gonna get someone killed." But that's kind of the importance of this show. That's how it's supposed to be, and I'm not sure how she's gonna turn out in the future. But
it's also how they fold those elements together, because you see in all of these moe shows, you see that Genki girl, and she's always cranked up to 11.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this show, there's a reason for being behind that. That's her shield. That's her way of keeping from going mentally cuckoo, because she's probably the most vulnerable of them. But at the same time, she's giving them a source of strength. She's giving them something to hang on to. And so when she does that goofy kind of let's go on a test of courage thing, it's kind of dovetailing into, well, they need to go get supplies anyway, and it's a long way off from the safe part.
Right, so like in Yuki's mind, it's just a field trip. Everyone else is like looking around every corner, making sure there's nothing around there. And even the episode where she's in the bookstore area, she had a certain defense mechanism to help her survive that. So it's like even when she's in danger, she has little things that kind of help her here and there. So she is in danger for, endangering the team. That's always, if any zombie survival series, TV, movie, game, there's always one character that's always going to get you almost killed every time. That's how it works, because that's, I guess, a way to build, obviously the drama of the show. If they're always just staying back in the classroom, it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be exciting if there weren't someone to put them into a little bit of danger.
Right.
It's
It
just
wouldn't be.
that
Yeah. Someone you
it's
can
just that it
scream
does
at.
get a little bit annoying.
Oh yeah, I can agree. I think even reading the manga, there's moments where I was reading it going, "Oh my God, why?
Yeah.
Stop doing this! Wake up!" But they do explain some more things later on. But yeah, but I'm interested to hear what Keon, what do you have to say on this one?
I thought it was actually really interesting that when they were in the library,
Mm-hmm.
she actually noticed a zombie, so
Right.
that she's not completely always in her delusion mode.
Mhm.
That she just doesn't really understand it in a way you could say.
Yeah. It's like she doesn't process it the same, and therefore I believe she called it a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. She thought it was part of the test of courage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that makes it interesting when Foss talks about things like The Walking Dead, or you always have that one person that kind of puts him in anger, is that it's not because Takeya is dumb in doing very ill-advised things. She's kind of in her own world, and the three other girls are, I guess you could say, trying to keep that image in her mind instead of tearing it down.
Right, because they could easily take a bullet to their head and end it if they wanted to. They're not going to, because this series is not going to do something like that. It won't go that dark.
Nope.
But
It shouldn't.
I also think about dark things. I loved how the first opening, you watched it, how it's all bright and colorful.
Mhm.
You watch the second opening for the second episode, or it's kind of like they start slowly putting the zombie elements and it starts getting a little darker in the end. I was joking with my brother saying that I would love by episode 12 it's just complete dark zombie
Just
opening
zombies
with the
everywhere.
same music playing.
Instead of the girls running and trotting around like they always do in an
Right.
OP, they're actually running away from the
Uh-huh.
zombies and all that kind of stuff.
Right, it's just blood everywhere and zombies eating people, and even they have the cute song still playing in the background would be funny.
Maybe they'll make
Yeah,
it
it
sound
is.
deranged as well.
Yeah.
They'll make it some weird, creepy version of it. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I tricked episode 3, they didn't do it, so I was like, oh, we're disappointed, but maybe they'll change something later on. But I don't know, I like how it's kind of deceiving. I like that element where you think it's all cute, but in reality it's not. So I
Mhm.
kind of like how they blend all that, and I'm a
Right.
fan of any series that can use kind of a cute design for a character and do some something dramatic with it. I'm always a big fan of that.
Mhm. Yeah. And speaking of the dramatic, I loved in episode 3 the scene where Ebisuzawa was first using the shovel to
Mhm.
kill that zombie, and the way that they sort of did the cut to black during moments of that as she was, just murdering it with the
Right.
shovel was just a really great scene.
It was like cut to that, and it was like they cut to a tomato on the ground.
Yeah,
So
bleeding.
the symbolism is
Yeah.
all over this show.
Yeah.
What does
And-
what does the tomato mean? I don't get
Yeah, I
it.
know, right?
A bloody head.
They also have like the little clues that are shown, kind of slowly building up to the big reveal at the end. Like the
Yeah.
cracked window, the stuff on the chalkboard about being left alone, don't leave me alone, help me. And
Yeah, you were
and even the book the girl's reading, the Stephen King book, was like another big hint.
talking
That's
about
like,
reveal.
yeah.
There was a person I follow on Twitter that just went back and looked into that, and they were thinking,
Mhm.
who put that stuff on the chalkboard up? How did that happen? Because they were more. I mean, the zombies came on, and they were in a couple frames, and they went, "Oh, it's a zombie," and then they had to backtrack and go, "Wait a second, this girl's messed up." And you couldn't tell which element they were more taken aback by, more startled with, more horrified with. And that's they did that really well with the reveal.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, again, this show I think is a big, a buzz. It's like people like it, people don't like it, people are still watching, people are kind of like rolling their eyes because obviously the cute designs are throwing them off. But yeah, this is my favorite so far of the season, easily.
Yeah, I think it would be. I'm not 100% sure if it's my number one, but it is
Mhm.
definitely one of my top favorites of this season. Another one for me that would qualify up there is Gangsta, which is our next show. And you think about all the... It's one of those...
Gangsta, period.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the wide period. But when I look at all these shows that we're talking about and anime in this season, this one looks more it looks different from the rest of them, which I think was the initial appeal to me, to be honest, is that you have characters that are older, which is something I'm always a fan of, because there's so many high school anime and stuff that I like, anime that kind of has like characters in their 30s, and the way that Gangsta has been able to balance out in just its first 4 episodes between telling the story of these two handymen's past, Nicholas and Warwick, that they've been able to slide in just a little bit of stuff that's going on in the present, and it's been interesting to see Nicholas, that's a very interesting character just in general because he's deaf, and kind of seeing how they communicate with him on the show. And Warwick as a gigolo, he's kind of like he's the more lighthearted of the two characters. He doesn't make the show incredibly jokey, but he does provide a bit of lightheartedness at times. And then Alex is a character that I'm still kind of interested to kind of see like what more she does after being rescued by the two in the first episode, where she has these thoughts about leaving, and that kind of seems like what's going right now, as they told Nicholas and Warwick's backstories, that'll be a kind of a slow development throughout the next several episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll spoil on her character, but I won't say what happens. But yeah, this series is pretty interesting. Like you said, it's adult characters doing adult things, even it's like the stuff that with Warwick and all them, they're basically killing people every day. It seems like they have no restraint on that at all. They just walk outside, bam, shoot someone. I'm like, yeah, well, that's just the nature of those characters, I guess. They're just the way they are.
Sounds like my life a little.
Well, you live an interesting life, you know what I'm saying?
It's called the thug life.
Yeah, thank you, exactly. And like you said, Nick being deaf is very interesting. I don't recall there being very many characters that are like him in general that have a little extra they got to struggle with, and he doesn't really let it bother him. He's just like, it's whatever. And so he still is able to do his job. I mean, like I said, he can still communicate with Warwick, and even though they have a weird way of communicating, he does speak some, and I give him a little props for that. They actually kind of got it right, because I went to school with a couple of deaf people before, and when they do talk, I'm not making jokes, they're hard to understand.
Right.
They at least got some of that right. I mean, I would say, at least.
Yeah, part of you talking is having that own internal feedback, and when you're deaf, you can't hear the sound of your own voice. All you hear is that buzz inside your head.
Yep, that's true. But yeah, I like it so far. It's fun. I mean, I like the opening. It's probably the best opening of the season.
Yeah,
that song I can play on repeat forever.
Yeah, Stereo Dive Foundation.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I've come into this, I'm trying to be a fan of it, but there are several things about it which aren't exactly really getting me. First, it's from Madhouse, and it's also from director Shuko Murase. And I mean, you mentioned that name and things like, Samurai Champloo, Witch Hunter Robin, Wolf's Rain, and especially Michiko Tuhachin. Just absolutely bloody, beautifully stylized. And, every location comes alive, every character comes alive. And in Gangsta, it's just this muted grayish background, and characters just kind of like lurching from place to place, part to part, scene to scene. And so it's just kind of missing some of that edge to me. It feels like they could elevate this program to kind of match the material.
Right.
That, and this is also probably just my perception again, but in the second episode, they mentioned the fact that the dog tags could be super soldiers. And, we've seen this in comic books. We've seen this in the Captain America and Avenger films and all that. And really, it's an overdone trope. And I was hoping that when they introduced that concept in the first episode, they would keep it as an enduring kind of urban legend, something that people are terrified of. They didn't know where it came from, or they just suspected. But once they mentioned it was a super soldier, I was kind of like, oh, man, you just gave away the ending or something like that. So that upset me a bit. But other than that, I'm trying to enjoy it for its own merits, but it's proving to be a hard sell for me.
I don't know if I have a really strong feeling about the Twilight thing yet, but I will say about your first point is that one thing we were talking about on Anavision is that the city, there's really nothing else going on these streets except for the characters that matter. And there's a point that it's kind of like the underbelly of the city, so it's kind of like streets that normal people would avoid. But there's a bit of a flatness, I will say, about how the anime looks.
Right, and maybe some more energy would be nice for the show. I mean, all the shows you listed that he directed all have pretty high speed energy. Samurai Champloo is a big example where things happen is very fast. You know, the characters move around very fluidly. I mean, Nick does do some incredible feats like jumping on roofs, you know, killing people so fast, and almost, like first episode, kicking that cop car, almost knocking it over, was a little kind of hint, I guess, towards maybe they're not exactly human. They're kind of got something else going on. So the super soldier thing, yeah, I kind of guess they'd be doing something like that, but yeah, I'm hoping it's not a major thing that gives these characters like superhuman strength where they can break through walls and everything. That'd be kind of silly.
Upper level human strength. Captain America isn't superhuman. He's just the human.
He can take several hits more than anyone, but yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next show, which is Gate. Anyone else want to start off with this one? I've been liking this one so far.
Yeah.
Or Gate, or as I call it, it's Stargate in the anime.
Oh, guys, come on. Don't do that.
Rory Mercury, the anime. There, I've said it.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, yeah, so I'm covering the show, and it's kind of interesting. So I came into this expecting that maybe the political stuff would be kind of cool too. People say, oh, this power struggle, all these resources available on the other side, whatnot, blah blah blah. And then it turns out you can't escape all the real world stuff. And people are now talking about Prime Minister Abe and right-wing extremists and how they've reinterpreted the Japanese constitution. Well, I'm like, guys, we're talking about the anime here, right? No, they're not. So I'm actually starting to hate the political aspects of it, unfortunately. But there is still the fantastical part of the show. It's proving to be kind of interesting just watching the crew, go out there and meet the locals. I'm actually kind of curious how they're going to reconcile the Empire versus the people, the farmers, the peasants, and the villagers, because very obviously the villagers don't have a problem with the military, the Japanese military, whereas the
self-defense force.
Yeah, and then whereas the emperor, and his lackeys, they're all like, oh, we got to go fight these people off, even though we attacked them first. I mean, they are now in their land, so that's understandable. But they've just kind of set up a defensive camp around the gate. They're not really going out and attacking. They're sending out. I mean, they're even sending out humanitarian aid. If you consider what Itami is doing, he's helping villagers from the dragons that the emperor himself is sending out. So it's just. I'm just kind of curious where this is going to go. I suspect that there might be some sort of rebellion, or the emperor might be overthrown because he's just so hilariously evil. There's no way around it. He's such a bad guy. He's propped up as the bad guy. He's got to come down at some point, hopefully sooner than later. So we'll see how that goes, considering that Itami and his men are about to meet the emperor's daughter soon, I think. That's what the next episode preview suggests, anyway.
Right.
I thought it was funny last episode I watched. They have their own pentagon set up and everything.
Well, it's a hexagon, actually, but they had to do one better than the U.S.
Right, true. But I thought it was funny. It's like, wow, out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, that was fast.
It's based on Carcassonne-like towns in Europe. It's based on that kind of, you have that wedge in there to be able to fend off attacks in all the corners, and cannons will bounce off if they happen to have cannons. No word about how they defend against dragons unless they have anti-aircraft.
Well, yeah, it sounds like they need rockets or larger caliber bullets to hit the dragons with. Because,
that's true. They did mow down a whole flotilla of dragons there, didn't they?
Right, but those are the smaller ones. Remember the small dragon that the huge fire dragon just absolutely demolished? I'm guessing.
They did pull his arm off though, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean,
they got something on it.
So if they were to invade Westeros, the JSDF would just rule.
I believe so, unless they have more of those really big fire dragons. But then they just whip out the rocket launchers and, job done.
Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, I was watching the first, I think, second episode when the big attack happens when they keep attacking them day after day. I'm like, just stop.
Why?
No, just stop. 'Cause it's like you're just gonna get yourself killed. Going like throwing a spirit at a guy with the rocket launcher. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna win that fight.
It was
Like
all
comments.
Or pride.
kind of painful to watch that scene.
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
God.
it wasn't even once. It was over and over.
Well, I mean,
Okay,
I understand what they were doing there. There was that
I do
esprit de
too.
corps, there was that do and die. There was that, oh, the Imperial Army is going to back us up. This us mighty confederation of armies, and the Imperial Army is really going to come. And that guy looks behind him and is like, where the fuck is the Imperial Army? Oh,
Right. And then I was wondering, it's like the first episode. It's like I don't recall them killing a lot of people in Japan. So it's like, in the other way around, it's kind of overkill. Like, wow, guys, you guys brought like 4 tanks to this other world, like knowing that they have these primitive weapons. Like that's a little overkill,
Well,
but I know
they
why.
didn't know that
I
at the
defend.
time, so
Right.
it
Yeah,
was
they
their
didn't
first
know.
venture into an unknown territory. It's
Right.
better safe than sorry. I mean,
yeah, I
I
mean,
do agree we've killed, or well, the Japanese have killed more of the otherworldly people than the other way around. And part of that is really just storytelling. It's a very convenient way for the
Right.
author to paint the emperor as an evil person, and also an awfully convenient way for him to get rid of the potential threat against his own empire.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
it's a little too convenient, but just take it as it is. It's past.
Oh
And,
yeah. I
And
don't
in
think much
history,
about it. I think it's kind of interesting.
I
in
thought it was-
history, in history, there have been worse first meetings. I mean, Westerners against Native Americans on the American continent. So, thanks for all the disease. By the way, here's syphilis in return. We haven't seen any of that on the show yet.
I thought it was
Thankfully, yeah.
kind of convenient how the one leader actually survived that fight with only like his arm and his
yeah.
leg blowing off.
Yes.
So they had to send someone back to warn them, like, oh, they got these great weapons.
See,
So,
he's the one who is now he's got all this anti-imperial talk now, which is making me think. That's why I suspect that there's going to be some sort of rebellion against
Oh
the
yeah,
empire
I can
at
see
some
that.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many of his forces are left over to make a difference?
It's a good question, but there's always the common people.
This is true. The small folk.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget about those guys. There's a lot more of them than there are of imperial soldiers. I can guarantee you.
I think
And,
kind of setting it up for his daughter to try to be one of the ones.
Mm-hmm.
Plus
That's what it seemed like.
Plus, they have a lowly murder machine on their side, don't they?
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, who's your favorite, new character on the other side? I mean, like the elf girl because of voice actress, obviously,
Yeah.
girl's voice actor. I like her, but yeah, but as far as the other two, I like the wizard girl a little bit more because
I like the wizard
she's
girl.
she's actually taking the initiative to like learn the language and she's studying them and she seems like a character that's gonna be pretty smart that can maybe translate for both sides.
Mhm.
So maybe she's gonna be very important later on.
And she also has a sense of humor with her mentor, whoever that guy
Right.
is.
And
You
Mercury
will
girl's
remain
just like,
nameless.
Yeah.
and Mercury's just kind of like, I'm here for the lulz. It's something to
Actually,
do.
Yeah.
She's an apostle of a temple, so she's supposed to be out amongst the people defending them.
Yeah.
Killing. She is a lowly murder machine.
That's
The
why
way
I
it's
was thinking when she brought her big axe into the, I guess the bathroom
It's-
area. I was like,
It's actually a
why you don't
halberd.
bring it with you?
It goes everywhere with her.
I'm like, don't bring that in there.
Hmm.
Yes. The thing about Rory is that since she represents the religious side of things, I can see them using her as some sort of propaganda, just to get people on the cause. I mean, it seems like even the Imperials believe in whatever religion it is because she had an Imperial bath or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But as far as the magician girl Lele goes, if you pay attention to the opening, there's actually a brief. Disclaimer: obviously, not everything in openings do happen or are reflective of
Right.
what happens
It's
on
like
the show.
she's at a podium.
Yeah, but in the opening, there's a brief one where she's kind of like talking to people from the podium as if she's some sort of emissary or diplomat or something along those lines. So if we take that at face value, there could be big things in store for her.
Right, yeah, like I said, she's actually taking she's going to learn the language and she's actually trying to understand things. everyone else is kind of like, cool, place to live. You know,
Yeah.
that's it.
I think in general, everything that you all have discussed is why I like the show. Is that you think about how you have a soldier who is an otaku and is in the self-defense force to fund his habit of anime watching and all that stuff, and then you have these girls that fit into typical anime stereotypes, and they kind of have a little fun with that. And those girls have a role to play, but they aren't the show. There's a much bigger thing at play here with the gay in the Empire and the self-defense force, and it's almost kind of like a different spin on Outbreak Company.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Episode 1 came out, a lot of people were comparing it to Outbreak, and I'm like, you know, I see the comparison, I know why you're doing it, but I was like, it doesn't fit. In my opinion, it doesn't work. It's
the
just kind of different thing here.
Yeah.
It's the same, but the theme is completely different. And this is more about, you know, us trying to make peace with them. And even they did an Outbreak Company, it was kind of like they used him as something else. So it's like, I don't feel they're the same at all. I think they're completely different, but that's just me, obviously.
I thought they were pretty similar, but each time I think about it, I just think about how much more complex Gate is with all of these different threads, with the Japan's politics and then the Empire. Outbreak Company kind of had some of it, but it didn't really go too far.
Right.
And
that's not.
They focus more on comedy in that show than anything.
Right.
Too, so.
Yeah, that's not a slam on Outbreak Company because it's a very different type of show.
It's just about spreading the joys of anime and manga and everything otaku.
The important things.
A cultural invasion.
The finer points of human life.
I guess Gate's more of a military, you know, invasion type thing, and Outbreak's more of a cultural thing, like you said. Makes sense.
All right, next up, we're going to be talking about Shimoneta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist.
I love the title of that show.
Yeah. And then the first episode, they really set the scene for how oppressive the government is and how dead set they are on creating a healthy and moral Japan, and how they won't let people say dirty words in public or private, and they got the thing around their necks like the chokers. It's just crazy.
Yeah, the
penis.
Whoa! Someone took him away. It's outrageous.
Ass.
Well, I mean that's
Cockadoodle pussy.
Cock.
But yeah, it's the first episode was pretty funny. About the world, like I said. And the characters themselves, I don't know the main girl's name, I forgot, but she's hilarious. I love how
Kajo.
Yeah, I love how she in school mode she's this, and outside mode she's completely bonkers. It's hilarious. I like that kind of character. It feels a little bit like Kuroko from Railgun for me. How she can be serious at the workplace, and then at home where she with Sokka, she's just nuts. So I kind of like how they can do that with that character. And I'm hoping they do it with other characters. I see maybe Anna in the next episodes may be changing a little bit and accepting more of the pervertedness, because you know she kissed the other guy in the last episode. It was kind of like this big breakout for her, like, whoa, what is this? So I hope that messes up a little bit more.
Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Because she's sitting there all day, he's like, whoa, I just don't know what's going on. Like,
But you're missing out on one of the best facets of the entire show.
what are you gonna talk about the peanut girl?
Yeah, Satomi Aria. I mean, come on, the return of that absolutely gorgeous, beautiful voice, and probably the third best lowly this season.
Yeah, I like her voice and all, but as far as like the character goes, I don't think it fits that character very well. It just seems weird that this raspy voice is coming out of this little kid. Like, I like her voice. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I think she could have been switched to a different character.
I don't know. She was able to use that. She was able to use that voice for Kuroko and in Railgun. So
yeah, no. This one seems more like she's like deeper than with Kuroko, but maybe it's just me. But yeah, I mean, that's a fun character, like you said. I mean, she's kind of slowly, I guess, unlocking her perverted side, I guess you'd say. So we'll see how far that goes. Even the main guy is slowly starting to accept it. So,
yeah. Did you watch episode 4?
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't think I have seen it this week yet.
Okay, yeah, because I did watch episode 4, and Anna goes quite a way. No spoilers for you guys watching, but and especially Saltomi does too. So I wish I could talk a little bit more about it, but
Right. So the only thing I mentioned before is the phone gimmick where she has that only she can do it. She can activate the phone and say whatever she wants. I find those moments to be very funny. For me, it's very Gintama-like when Gintama does a bunch of things like that where they just go off somewhere else and just do all this bathroom humor just because they want to, and they keep it funny. And same with this show, they keep it funny. They're not like always hitting you with it every 10 minutes. So I mean, it's there, but it's not around all the time. Which I kind of like what they're doing with that.
yeah, I think after that initial episode where you saw this whole theme being set in place, and kind of look at it a little deeper about government oppression at an extreme level in this case, and the declining birth rates in Japan, almost kind of seems like there's some commentary taken in there. But for right now, what the characters have been doing, there hasn't been a lot of significant action occurring yet, besides what happened at the end of episode 3 and at the end of episode 4. So
Yeah,
kind of,
there's a little bit of like love triangles forming with that Otome girl. She's kind of he likes Anne, and the other guy likes Anne, so it's kind of be this kind of rivalry coming between these three later on. But it's funny just seeing how things are developing. And the only character I don't like in this series is the big gorilla guy on the council. I hate him.
yeah, he's kind of.
Character. I'm like, go away.
He's so harmless, though. Come on.
He is, but he's just annoying. He always hitting the main guy. I'm like, dude, what's your problem? Like, seriously, the guy's dad had, he was kind of the star of all this, but I mean, like, he's not his, it's not him. Like, relax.
He feels like he's that. You think about the whole club as it is, and he's the one character that seems truly the most pure because he truly believes in everything that he's been told about this, moral system and such. But he's just not deep or interesting enough to really feel like he's doing anything other than just going, Okuma, stop that, or something, or like trying to place blame on him.
Right, always put the blame on him. And what he's been doing, yeah, he's right about what he's been doing, but it's just in general, he doesn't really know that, so it's like, he's just assuming, which is kind of, but again, he doesn't know what's really going on. But yeah, I guess he's okay.
Right. I'm going to push one of our shows up here because it's somewhat similar in nature, and that is Prison School. Because you think about the pornographic content of that show, and how with Prison School you have 5 boys enrolling in what was formerly an all-girls school, and of course their perverseness is shown, and then they're put in prison where they're just beaten mercilessly at every opportunity by the vice president.
Yeah, I'm starting to notice. I think the vice president only hits the glasses guy.
Yeah.
I think I'm figuring that out. Maybe that there's something more with that character. Maybe she actually likes, the glasses guy, and maybe she likes beating him up. I think that's kind of funny. But yeah, the way they get in trouble was funny too. Obviously, all girls school. What's the guy's going to think about? Well, they spy on the girls, and they don't really get very far. And I kind of like how they get caught and punished for that, because most anime they kind of play it off as haha, a funny joke. Like nothing's going to happen. Like Totoro, where Rito, obviously does it all the time. You would think they'd kick him out of the school by then, but in prison school they actually do address that and punish them for that. And I think that was kind of interesting how they did that, even though it's for the humor of the show, obviously. I mean, they're not going to be. I mean, it's not like a real prison, so there's only 4 guys in there. But last episode I watched, they had a lot of funny. I think people that like Yaoi and BL will probably love that episode because it's very funny. All the misunderstandings is the parts I like.
I don't think there's really anything more until the vice president hitting Gakuto more often, at least at this point, because it seems more likely that ever since the first episode, they just haven't shown Joe or Andre or Shingo as much.
Right.
It's pretty much focused just on Kiyoshi and Gakuto, so I think it's more just they pretty much left the other three characters out for now.
Yeah. I like Joe. He's my other favorite. He's a lot like what's the guy from Angel Beats? He's just like him. He doesn't speak very often. Yeah, TK. He's like that character. He doesn't talk much, but Joe's pretty funny. Even the last episode, he was making all these comments about holes and stuff. I couldn't stop laughing. There's many comments like.
I like how he wanted an ant farm as to be delivered to him.
Right. Yeah. And but yeah, this show's funny. And Hanazawa Kana's character. Oh my god, the most hilarious character I've ever seen. At least her play.
She's a good breakout character in that regard, isn't she?
Yeah, I just like how she, obviously everyone's used to her being a cute character. She does do these breakout roles where it's like completely off the wall, and this one's one of those characters that even wanting to see the main character P was pretty funny, and how they set all that up was just hilarious.
Yeah,
it's gross but hilarious.
Yeah, like it's one of those shows that we know it's censored, and JC Staff is actually going to release it uncensored on Blu-rays when those come out. But it's in spite of that, it's still incredibly fun to watch because they do just enough, like the scenery that there's so little to the imagination when you're seeing just for no reason. Vice President is just doing squats. And seeing Kiyoshi looking up from underneath is just an incredible visual. Just seeing an eye poking through that hole, watching that, and the humor is very over the top. And normally shows like this that have such a ridiculous amount of like violent content, I would kind of stray away from, but because of the nature of the show, I think it fits and it's really funny. And then, of course, the scene of Gakuto and Kiyoshi in the shower was just hilarious, and the guy's visualization of them just going at it.
So what was funny? I just couldn't stop laughing. This is like it's funny to see his perspective, and then you see the other two they aren't really doing that, and it's just funny how they joke around with that, and plus the whole fact that when she was doing her squats, her heel stabbed the guy in the butt, and it looked like he had hemorrhoids, which he really didn't. But and then the other guys making the butt jokes again was just, the whole thing was just funny. But and even going so far as like the poop joke they did, I was like, okay, well,
that was.
As a Crohn's disease sufferer, I'm offended.
Right. Yeah, but again, for me, this is a very similar Gintama thing here, where they can do things like that and get away with it, and it comes off as comedy. Yeah. And they're doing a very good job at Prison School. And I was even going to step further. Say it's funny seeing the women kind of take all the ecchi shows are more about the girls taking charge this time. Minus Flow Through.
Speaking of that, are they going to kind of drop the double standard humor on that? Because if the genders were reversed in this, we'd be discussing a very different anime. And there's obviously, there's a lot of the Mickey to be taken out of that gender swap with female on male violence. But hey, kids, violence is wrong. So how does that double standard humor go on for very long in the manga, or do they kind of relax that a little bit?
Yeah. Boy, I haven't read the manga. So I wouldn't know, but I just kind of feel like if I had to guess, I would think that would continue on, because you think about the way that the president is. Like, we think Hana and Meika are bad. The president, I forget her name. She seems like she's the most sinister of them all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what they're hinting solely at. Maybe these three or four girls that are watching go to prison aren't really the best students ever either.
Right.
And they're probably just as messed up as the guys, but maybe not in a perverted way. More like you said, maybe they're more violent. So, as a way to get them away from the other girls, maybe make them focus on this. And obviously there's another subplot of the principal. His daughter is taking her aggression out on the guys because of her dad. So he's got pictures of girls' butts and everything, which comes off as comedy.
He had to be doing that on purpose.
Right, exactly.
It was just like, no way you'd just leave that, drop the book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then it turns out that he really is just that clumsy.
right. And
They,
then, yeah.
there could have been so much more, but it's kind of left still how far they go along with this character. That
Right, so yeah.
because there's got to be more than him just blocking one of the escape routes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if there's ever going to be direct interaction between him and the prisoners, because that could be kind of interesting, because he, you know, obviously he's not going to go too much against his daughter because he seems to kind of fear her a little bit, but kind of see him kind of be sympathetic toward their desire to see girls.
Right, or like I said before, I think it's her lashing out at him, using the guys as like she can beat them up, but she can't beat her dad up. So it's like the more perverted stuff he's gonna do, the worse the guys are gonna be off because of him. But I'm interested in seeing how this escape plan actually works. I'm gonna say no. I don't think it's gonna work. I think he's gonna maybe go see the sumo wrestling thing, but not get the figures for the guy, or maybe not do that at all. I don't think it's gonna work. I think
it's pretty assuredly that if it does work, he's gonna end up getting like caught when he gets back or something and still be stuck in there.
He'd be like, well, I went on one date in my life, I can die now, so that's fine.
Whether or not he does make it, it's pretty probable that he'll still end up being stuck in there, though.
Yeah.
Because the way that he talks about the schedule, he thinks he's just going to stay an hour for the sumo wrestling, and you know that she's probably going to be like, "Where are you going?" and all that stuff, and then that's going to mess up everything. And
right. In his master plan, we're going to get a girl's uniform and sneak out. that was hilarious. It's like a JoJo style character, all muscle bound, walking out wearing a girl's uniform. Like, that's not going to work. I'm sorry.
Let's go back to Chaos Dragon Skyline.
Oh goodness, yes, Chaos Dragon. How wonderful and fortuitous that show is. I'm a long-time fantasy tabletop role-playing gamer, so the idea that, and a struggling writer, so the idea that 5 famous designers and writers got together to create the characters, and then a game master had an overall plot in mind, and then the characters and the players interacted with that plot. Absolutely fascinating idea. But one of the interesting things about playing a game, and people that play MMOs also know this, is if you go on a raid, you're going to have a ton of cross chatter, what they call table talk, and different stuff like that. So I think an awful lot of that got in the way of them being able to make a fairly clean script out of the proceedings. It just seems like there's an awful lot of, I want my character to be this important, I want my character to be that important, and there's very little at this point after 4 episodes seems like a service to an overall plot. So it's kind of flailing around. It's got good ideas to it, but some of the execution is not all that great. Animation-wise, it's mediocre. And as I said in my Prismilia post today, that I'm glad Silverlink saved their money for the best of the best show.
Yeah, I think you're in Chaos Dragon. The gimmick of some of the characters are kind of silly. I mean, I do like the weapon guy who every weapon he uses once and it destroys. I like that idea. That's cool. But the main kid, the white-haired kid, I don't really like his. I guess his is what? I guess he had to sacrifice a friend to use a weapon, which is kind of stupid. I'm like, no one's gonna be friends with this kid. I wouldn't be friends with him.
I don't know the exact rule set of Red Dragon, the game that this thing is based on, but I mean, I have 30 years experience in the hobby, and so I mean, there's a lot of character design, or there's a lot of character generation that you can do, like in D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. You start off at first level, you select your class, pretty much all the decisions except for like where you're going to put your stats, what bonuses you get, and the equipment you buy. Everything's pretty much decided before you. How you track up, you only have a couple of choices to make. But there are some systems that leave it wide open. You have like a budget that you can buy stuff for your character, like, and it always has to balance out a little bit. Like, you can make them very intelligent, but at some given point, you're not going to have enough points to buy into two looks. So they can be really, really ugly, but really smart, and really strong, but not quite as dexterous. And with powers like that, it seems like sometimes you buy into like really, really, really almost game-breaking at first level powers. But to do that, you have to buy a disadvantage that kind of gives you money back to your budget. And it just seems like, oh, you have this awesome freaking dragon power, but you got to kill people to be able to activate it. Or man, you are the master of all swords, but they always break in your hand. Or you're the master of an entire city, but you're an undead cyborg, and it takes a lot of money to keep you maintained. Or you're bound to a very, very powerful demon, but you've got to be a mopey character like they have with Aha, and it's just I can kind of see how it tracks.
Yeah, I can see it too. I mean, my dad used to do that too when he was, back in the military and all that with his friends. But he used to tell me stories about weapons him and his friends would make, where like a weapon that's a dagger that you can throw it, and it can kill anyone you want, but it's got to come back to you and it's got to kill you too, or hurt you as well. So I mean, like I said, there's always just pros and cons to everything, and I like how you're doing that. Like I said before, the sword guy, he's probably my favorite because I think that's interesting. You can use any weapon he wants, but it breaks afterwards. That's an interesting concept. I like that.
But the thing about it is they obviously gave the sword guy Swallow. They obviously gave him he obviously gave his character the advantage that he was incredibly rich and had a bandolier of swords by his side. So I mean, it's really weird how you can have a disadvantage like that, but you can buy it up and make it more of an advantage.
Right, but like I said, as far as characters go, he's probably my favorite right now because I just think it's kind of a unique thing. I really haven't seen that before. So as far as the other kid, I don't really like. I don't like him, but it's unbad.
I haven't seen any really unlucky or shitty dice rolls on these characters as of yet, other than the disadvantages that they had like at the very beginning.
I did think it was a funny episode. I've only seen episode 2. Yeah, up to that episode 2. And how the little kid was like, "You killed my sister," and in episode 2, "Kill me." I'm like, oh jeez.
yeah, derp, just unqualified derp.
And the terrible villain they had, Spider Chick with mechanical. I was like, okay, I don't know.
I like that design.
Watching, so,
I like that design. It was just really like I said, a lot of the show, its execution is just really just off.
All right, our next show is Charlotte, and I need a little help with something. This is probably going to be simple, but I need to know about this school. So, if I'm correct, the school Hoshinomi Academy is a school that accepts kids that either have some kind of incomplete ability or have the potential to have some ability, right?
Correct. Yes.
And that's what the school is designed for.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the X Mansion.
Yeah, it's like Xavier's Academy or Jean Grey's Academy. Only we haven't seen who the Xavier or who the Jean Grey or who the headmaster is yet.
Yeah, who's the principal?
But if the cops get you, you're done for.
That's the
scientists, not the cops. The scientists are.
She's mentioned cops too.
So
really? Okay.
Why wouldn't the cops just go into school? Is the school protected?
I think they've hinted that they have friends with higher powers, but it's not been explicitly stated yet.
All right.
There's been subtle hints dropped, more or less, that they have powerful friends or something along those lines.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they have some guy with powers that maybe hide in the school from the public view. Maybe it's hidden. Maybe it's an illusion or something where everyday people can't see it. I wouldn't be surprised if they have that.
Yeah. All right, because after episode 1, I kind of liked it, which is a bit of a surprise for me for a PA work show because I typically don't like them. I like the main guy and the kind of jerk-like person that he was, using his ability, spending so much time cheating that he could have spent just as much time studying and probably done just as well. But then, as I watched episodes 2 through 4 today, that whole thing about the powers and the school and having I mean, maybe we're just seeing one part of it, which is the student council, bringing in this soaking wet dude to drop water on a map, and like I just thought like that story. I feel like that was kind of like it's kind of immature. Like I feel like I would want a little more from a story about characters with superpowers instead of it's a student council that's going and looking for these other people. And then I saw the 2 episodes after that, which were more individual stories about getting Misa, Misa and the idol girl to join in the student council. And the picture, like I just didn't think those were really strong enough individual stories, and I think that's something to expect a fair bit of. And so, in my opinion, I thought the show was very weak.
Right, I can see that. I mean, a lot of people associate, Joan Maiden with like doing these happy stories that aren't usually that well. Most people in a clan did. Those shows they're fine and all, but a lot of those characters are kind of boring. But a lot of the shows have lots of characters. I think that's what they love doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of characters, all these different backstories. Like you said before, the idol girl and the other one was kind of cool. How they use like kind of like almost supernatural power, where she's like a ghost who can take other people's bodies, or the other girl's body. It was kind of cool. But as far as the powers go, I like how each power has a disadvantage. They're not exactly like godly powers at all. I mean, they have obviously a very disadvantage for like Speed Guy. He's fast, but he can't really aim where he's going, so he gets hurt.
And that kind of makes for some funny moments.
Right, and she only can be invisible to one person at a time, which is kind of an interesting power, but also very, very, very weak. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the main guy, I loved how he really abused his power in the beginning. I haven't really seen any anime where a character has the superpower and he's kind of using it for like his own gain. Very, very much like Lelouch from Code Geass. Yeah. Everyone was throwing that around when episode 1 was airing. And he's very Lelouch in those episodes. But yeah, I think he's going to change later on, and like you said, the water guy coming in, those parts are pretty funny to me. But yeah, I could see that people would say, well, they're not very interesting characters. Like, I can agree on that.
I just kind of treated it as like the X-Men character Dupe just kind of floats around and says some gibberish and then floats off. It's just it's kind of like that, and but he's useful. He has his function, and that's exactly what he does.
He reminds me of one of the characters from the old Aquarion, the guy who does all the metaphors and stuff. He's all like that character just comes in, says one thing.
The barefoot guy.
Yeah, and they're all like inspired, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got this," and he walks off. And it's kind of like that. It's fun.
I'm surprised no one's been down on it because of the whole evil scientist angle, or have we kind of like absorbed that as some of Jun Maeda's corniness?
I mean, I'm down on it.
Go ahead, sir.
I find it a little annoying that the scientists are all stereotypically evil. However, it is a work of fiction, and they are the antagonist of choice this time. They rolled the dice, it landed on scientists.
Evil science. I still think it's a matter of her perspective. I mean, they certainly did her brother no bit of good, and so far that's the only real perspective we've seen on it, and so that is Now's viewpoint on it. Mm-hmm. These scientists are just damn evil. Her brother could have been a case that failed and failed badly. They might be helping them in the background, or the evil scientists could be backing this school. They haven't really given us a lot of details on that. So
that's the thing, we don't know enough. So all we know right now is that they are.
To me, she has shown 2 types of personality. One that is kind of like she is bearing the weight. So she has that very, very serious attitude, and then there's what I think is the real person underneath that, which is that bright, bubbly person that comes out every now and again. And so, I think she has 2 minds on things most of the time.
Right. I mean, for me, I kind of look more like at a Railgun angle, where Railgun, season 2 was very heavily hinted on scientists being evil, exploiting these kids' powers.
Well, they were.
They were. I mean, and then Misaka does the same thing, where at school she's just got prepared, but in reality she's got more of a burden because all the clones and stuff in that series. So, like I said before, anime usually always puts scientists as bad guys, especially when you're dealing with superpowers. If you got anyone dealing with powers, it's always going to have the alternative side, the humans that are scared but want to use those powers for their own good. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're always going to weaponize them, basically, is what they want to do. And that, to me, is a common thing with superpowers. if you have that, you obviously, you said, like Smiley said, you got to have some kind of other side to go against that. And I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if the scientists were back in the school. I would not be surprised at all. You know. But I like the powers in the show. I mean, there's 2 shows about powers on this list, but this one I think does it a little bit better.
What is the other one?
Dandelion, they have powers in that as well. But
oh, right.
I like Charlotte's powers a little bit better because, again, I like when they have a disadvantage, but they're not super powerful, which is what I think, Rogan could take a note from that on some characters, but yeah.
I had to, when I was doing the first impression for Dandelion, I had to list like what their possible weaknesses were, and
Nice.
and for the 4-year-old I listed her power was that she could talk to inanimate objects and animals. Her weakness was that she's 4.
Yeah, like weakness has a bedtime.
has nap time. Gets cranky without food and sleep.
All right, let's go on to our next show, which is Classroom Crisis. You want to lead us off on this one, Smiley?
Yeah, sure. So this show is a little personal for me. It's got the whole focus on engineering, and they're creating little rockets or spacecraft that function with mysterious ways, harnessing solar, wind, and looks like a jet turbine. But anyway, so I can actually take this show from 2 points of view, which actually pertain to me. The first is I can see it from the point of view of the kind of privileged children who are not children. They're not really children. They're older, but they're privileged kids who have access to essentially unlimited funds, and they do whatever they want for fun. And my own research actually pertains to defense, and the U.S. government values defense quite well. And so essentially, I have unlimited funds in that aspect. I haven't seen the account run dry yet, so I can see it from that point of view. But then I'm not sure if another episode's come out yet, but the latest episode that I've seen with the accountant from hell, who comes and they get downsized essentially.
Oh yeah.
And so they get taken out from their fancy multi-million-dollar facility, and they get taken out to this. People call it a shack. It's not really a shack. It's a real hangar with stuff in it too that they can work with. And I found it surprising that half a team, at least we were told that half the team left because of that. Because I can approach this from the other point of view, because I'm also in a society, an organization, a club essentially, that builds our own cars. And I find it interesting that when they are taken out of a nice fancy facility and given a less fancy but still functional facility, that immediately half of them that you thought might have been invested in what they're doing decide that they no longer care about it and they have better opportunities somewhere else. I mean, I can see that they are not used to not having access to all this money, but there is still resources in that hangar that they could use to make a spacecraft. The people that founded the company clearly had enough resources in there to build a functional spacecraft. Why can't they do the same? So it's just interesting that they've displayed these 2 aspects, 2 very different points of view of engineering and work like that. And it's kind of personal to me. I do find, moving away from the engineering part of it, that the guy that transferred in, I forget his name now, the third brother to the people in charge of the company.
Nagisa Kiryu.
Nagisa, there we go. He's got a girl's name, so that's why I couldn't remember. But anyway, so I do find Nagisa's character very, very interesting. He's kind of that. He's kind of like the successful, like the Elon Musk or the success story that you always hear. The guy that can do no wrong. He does everything perfectly and successfully beyond expectation. The stereotypical hero of whatever business that you're thinking about. But then he's got his really weird personal quirks. He's at odds with his brothers, but it's kind of like this passive aggressive thing. His brother very obviously aggressively hates him, and then he's like, well, you know what? I'm doing a great job. Deal with it. And his brother's like, well, I'm gonna give you another harder job. And then there's like his relationship with that accountant. I forget her name as well.
About her too,
and she's very obviously smitten with him, and he invites her over. And he's like, oh, you can use my shower, and she's like, oh, okay.
Oh.
And then comes out, and then he's like, I just let you use my shower, not interested. And then she's just left hanging. He's like, it's almost like that stereotypical character where he's so good at everything except for human interactions. He's like it's almost like a trade-off, I guess. Going back to the whole superpowers, having trade-offs things, or Dungeons and Dragons. You're great at everything you do. You're a huge business success, but you're terrible with people. That's what he has going on, and I find that character very interesting.
He's a broken version of Tony Stark who can't hit on women. He's
Well,
famous and rich, but he can't hit on women.
his relationship with Angelina is really interesting because there's one thing that you could look at it from one point of view. He doesn't swing that way. That
Possibly, but I don't know.
Possibly.
Okay.
There's been no indication whatsoever, so we'll leave that hanging.
2, the position he's in, that if there was ever an improper relationship between an adult and a student caught, that would get him into hot water, and therefore that would kibosh all his plans to take over as CEO.
Sure.
So he's being extra careful.
But he let her over to use the bath in the first place.
3, that's both his carrot and stick for her. That's how he keeps her in line. That's how he keeps her in control. The promise of what is to come, like a true businessman, the promise of what is to come rather than just delivering the goods right then and there.
So you think this is just part of his act?
That's part of his plan.
Plan, sure. His act to her is a part of his plan. That's a super interesting way to interpret it.
He sees everyone as a resource. Why wouldn't he see the same person as a resource? And how do you utilize a resource is key to how it eventually ends up performing for you. So, I mean, he's got her
use people as just objects, tools, the means to an
end. He does. Yeah,
comes back to his very warped interactions with people.
Right. And he's for me on the show, I like I kind of don't care for the business side of things. That kind of bores me a little bit. But the engineering part is kind of fun. I like that.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the latest episode, they just had him run afoul of unions and stuff like that, which that has a really, really sordid and crazy and twisted history in Japan, and as much as it probably has in the United States and around the world. So I'm kind of hoping that's the last gasp. They've just shown that they've built something of value, performing exactly as they were supposed to in that hangar. So I'm hoping that the 4th episode was the last we see of some of that politics, and they can actually start, hitting the throttle.
The only thing I was going to say is a lot of people don't know that it's actually set in space. This is actually on Mars, which is kind of interesting.
People don't know? You mean it didn't know until the end of the 1st episode?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And even before even seeing the trailer, I didn't know that until I actually watched the episode. I was like, oh, yeah, right, it's in space. And I like how the other planets are actually inhabited, too. So they have other planets out there, too, that have people living on them, just like these kids.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of funny that...
I think it's hard to forget when they're building space engines.
Right, that's true. I didn't know when I first watched the first episode.
Actually, I have to say, I really cringed when they rescued Nagisa, and you pointed that too as well. I was like, no, you guys are building this super expensive thing, and you just go ahead and crash it in, and it's like,
that's how they, before she does all that, the other kid is talking about the price, this part, that part, this part, and
I was like that kid.
Nope, she's like, I don't care. I was like, I started laughing, but I guess that's the whole drama point of the series, that they have to, they have this they gotta rebuild it. How they rebuild it, even when now with the club being from having this high tech to low tech now. And like I said, everyone leaving, but I guess that was gonna happen eventually. Even kind of the opening kind of hints at that too, that there aren't very many people left in this club by the end of the series, or even by the middle. But yeah,
this is, as engineers, this is a very valuable lesson to them. They have to learn how to work efficiently and effectively.
Right.
I have a friend who always says, don't work harder, but work better. Work smarter, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun series, so I like it. And or emo character designs, I kind of like. They kind of work for me a little bit in this series. So it's interesting so far.
All right. Next up on our list is Raka no Yusha. Is Raka still talking about wanting to be the strongest in the world?
Yeah, wanting to be the strongest in the world.
Yeah, he still is.
The game is still being talked about.
So, how is it so far?
It's in character building mode right now, and so far it's a little bit better than some of their what I consider to be sloppy exposition by the first episode's middle. So the characters are much more interesting in the background. I'll give you that much.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I like that one.
Is it? Are they going episode by episode, meeting one of?
No.
Okay.
They've met like 2 new characters. There are 2 or 3 new characters now in one episode. This is episode 4, I want to say, the most recent one.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they're up
You
to
guys all seen the
7.
most recent one? Have you guys seen the most recent episode?
I haven't seen the
Not
most
yet.
recent, but I saw episode 3. I liked how that one ended with all the girls, all them kind of fighting each other. It was pretty
Mhm.
funny. I like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to really spoil it. It is in the synopsis, but they meet a bunch more heroes.
Right. Yeah.
And then the head count turns out to be 7.
Oh yeah, what Keon just said.
Yeah. Which is interesting to me because, I thought there obviously is a bigger mystery, but as it is right now, I feel like the obvious imposter there is going to be Flammy because she goes around killing other heroes. But obviously, that's too easy.
Right.
So,
Yeah. They're setting
we'll see
up.
how it pans out.
Yeah. Now they're gonna play the game of who is not really one of these braves, who's the odd one out. That's gonna be interesting.
Then
Yeah.
that makes her too obvious, and therefore not.
Exactly.
The
Yeah. It can't be her.
I wouldn't be
Or
surprised
can
if it's like the son or daughter of the big demon that they're trying to fight. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the twist where, oh, actually I've been so and so all along, haha.
Did they have
Or-
guns though? I thought they were monsters or
I
like
don't know. They could-
non-human creatures.
Well, I haven't really seen him yet, so I don't know.
Is the
what's
last
that
time,
one?
It's like,
is the last time the heroes gathered something that happened within memory of all the people around there, or is it something that's legendary?
Say that again.
The gathering of the heroes, the 6, is
Yes.
that something that has happened within everybody's memory, or is it just
Oh.
legendary?
As far as I understand, there are very solid records of the different generations of heroes.
History
Maybe.
lies. First off,
Yeah.
history lies.
Okay, we are presented history as if it were the truth,
right.
and the history that we were presented with, which we have to take at face value, or you might not want to if you don't have to, if you don't want to, is that there are always 6 heroes and that they always meet to defeat the one demon lord. Or not demon lord. We keep saying demon lord because we're used to that genre or that trope now, but it's actually more like a weird giant monster thing.
Yeah.
Because the way they explained it at the very beginning was like it was like some sort of large thing that spread from its little peninsula over to the rest of the island.
Yeah.
So I
I'm,
can feel not so much a being as it is maybe like a large entity. I'm not sure.
I'm calling it that the entirety of the heroes gathering is a great big fabrication lie.
Going with the conspiracy theory. I gotcha.
Yep.
Ancient aliens.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I like the characters so far. I mean, the rabbit girl, she's awfully, she's very cute and very fun. I like that character so far, and I'm interested in seeing all the other characters how they interact. Obviously, the white-haired girl has got a little bit of a problem with the heroes. I mean, she wants to kill all of them, obviously, but I liked how the main guy would not let up and kept on with her, and he stuck with her the entire time just to win her over. And I thought that was kind of interesting to see how he kind of gravitates to certain characters to pull the girl to his side. Obviously they have the legend, all 7 or 6 of them have to meet to stop this evil, which is kind of a basic plot. And I like how it's not really medieval fantasy. It's not feudal Japan. It's more like I guess Aztec area. I kind of like how they changed it up a little bit.
That's what I really liked about it, because it's such an unused and unseen aesthetic that's what immediately drew me in.
Yeah,
was
same
how interesting that all looked in this setting.
Right, so they're using like jungle setting versus woods and forest. I like that. It's a little different.
It's kind of a weird, odd mishmash of pre-Columbian and post-Columbian Mesoamerica when you get right down to it, because they have gunpowder and we have cannon, which they also have apples and tomatoes, which that's post-Columbian. Sorry, okay, I'm a history guy.
No problem, but
It's like a world too, so we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I just like how it's differently visually. They could easily throw a medieval castle in there and be like, okay, this is like every other fantasy series I've seen. But this is kind of refreshing that they did a different setting.
Okay.
for me anyway.
That's good. I was on the fence about the series because the gathering of heroes, that's something that there have been some shows where I kind of am interested, but by a few episodes.
Did you ever watch Brave 10, I think is what it's called?
Yeah, I did. And that was another one where, like a few episodes in, I kind of checked out.
Because that one kind of, it took too long to get to all the heroes. By episode 11, 12, they meet the last one finally.
Oh.
The last episode, I'm like, well, that's kind of a bummer. So I'm hoping the series can kind of speed through it, maybe introduce 2 at a time. That way we can get all of them
That's
faster.
Good. Sounds good.
Well, just so you know, they've met all the heroes now in episode 4.
Okay.
Plus 1.
Well, I'm glad they kind of sped through that, because that process has always been the annoying part.
Yeah.
You know, shows like that. Like, even Charlotte has that problem where I want them to assemble their main team ready. Instead of, you know, like, can you quit selecting everybody? Yeah, exactly.
Now.
Avengers, exactly.
Yeah.
Avengers now, not
episodes
later.
8 or 9.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, do it now. But yeah.
Where's your cam at, Sky? I mean, if you took the clothes off, it's for the better that that we just
very obviously a vampire lolly. I mean, that's exactly what he looks like.
Just checking. Let's move on to Monster Girl up next. An anime about big titty monsters.
This is probably my, I think, I want to say top 3 or 4, but this one's fun because I read some of the manga. I was curious about it because I seen it on Tumblr everywhere before the series was starting to air, and yeah, so I saw some fan art and a bunch of art, and I did some of my own. But this show just has a lot of interesting characters. It's kind of unique in its own way that I haven't really seen a series about monster girls. I mean, To Love Ru kind of comes close because the girls are obviously aliens, but this one is more extreme where there actually are monsters, like we see with some of the characters. And I would say
by
maybe
monsters,
some of
they mean animals.
Right, more like animals, like Mia being half snake. I know there's a term for it, but her character design is pretty cool. I mean, I like how it's very out there. I think that's why I like the series. It's very absurd and out there.
Yeah,
I haven't really found. Go ahead.
That's weird because the size of Darling's apartment seems to get bigger or smaller depending on if the centaur is there, or how much tail they have to account for, or the wingspan of Harpy. So it kind of melts around a little bit, which is interesting.
Yeah, they did kind of set that up in the first episode with like his bath is so huge.
Yes, it's huge. And with Mia again, with her, like you said, the bathroom's huge just for her. And I like how they kind of, made the house almost designed just for her. But then he introduced the other two, so maybe they're obviously maybe always renovating his house. Maybe that's the way I look at it. Maybe they're always fixing it and making it bigger. Maybe when he's outside, they go in there and sneak in, fix it for him. But I feel for the main guy. He's always getting beat up. I think he says a few times he could get killed easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it's played off as comic relief, but isn't that a violation of whatever law they have?
Yeah, but I think it's more like
endangering his life.
Yeah, if he hurts him, he gets in trouble. But they can hurt him, which is pretty funny. And yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But
I mean,
but yeah,
it's obviously not a show to be taken seriously, so I'm joking as well. But
right.
Even when they keep throwing the monster girls in there, in the last episode they revealed that whole marriage thing, that she's going to use him as a test subject for marrying the monsters, which is put all the girls in this, like, put them all in heat basically, but also the full moon didn't help either. So, they're almost like, a few times I almost got raped by the girls. So I was like, okay, this is getting a little extreme when the girls are just like throwing themselves at him, like literally. And especially the monster girl, and they could kill him without him noticing. And I like the episode where he fell in the ketchup and the girls freaked out.
There was a lot of stuff on the floor.
But yeah, it's a fun series. I mean, if you like stuff like To Love Ru and just anything ecchi out there, this is perfect for me. I mean, I just like it. I am hearing that a lot of people like the Spider Girl whenever she's introduced. Like, she's like the very, very favorite character of the series.
That'll be interesting to see.
That, and she's into bondage, obviously, because she's a spider.
Oh, makes perfect sense.
Right. And then the Slime Girl's next week, which I heard she's kind of a funny character. She's not really and again, like you said, don't take this show serious. It's just Supposed to be for fun. But I did like how in the beginning they introduced maybe a little bit of racism. You know, obviously because the monster girls aren't really looked at as human. So, but that's kind of they pushed that aside really fast. So,
Right.
And they could have done more with that, but they're not going to.
Yeah, like it's just a minor point. It's as simple as just people laughing at a monster on the street.
Right.
No,
yeah.
they have more than enough plot already. So.
Right.
Yeah, plenty. And but yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of. What do you think about this one? This one's.
I like it pretty much so far. The interchange between what it means to be a monster in the society and what it means to be a human is always interesting because they've got to play it with chastity, but at the same time they introduce that loophole into the law where he might get a chance. But then again, is the chance going to kill him or not? It's playing really fast and loose with that kind of like that. Finally get to lose my virginity. Oh no, what have I lost? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna ask you, like, who's your favorite character so far? I know not all of them have been introduced yet. I mean, like I said, the Spider. I've been hearing a lot of buzz. She's gonna be very popular, but out of the ones they have now, I guess, which one?
Yeah, I'd like to see how they play with the Spider Girl. That would be very interesting. But so far, I'm really attached to Parpy the Harpy.
Yeah, she's fun. I just think it's funny that she's actually same age as the other girls.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they really necessarily had to hang a lamppost on it. Maybe the whole Lily-esque attitude is kind of getting to people where they instantly just think the character is young. I mean, there are such a thing as short, petite people.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, she doesn't actually look like a lolly. I don't.
No.
I don't get that feeling from her at all.
No, just bird-brained.
Right. That whole
Simple.
3-step forget thing is pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really done much of that, but one time. But I hear that comes in later. But I also heard that when the slime is introduced, Pappy and the slime girl kind of like really like almost one character when they get together because they're always together playing around. But yeah, for me, I like Mia right now. She's fun. Voice actor. It's weird to hear the girl from Alno Zero being a little bit perverted. It's a little weird hearing that because like you take all those lines and put it in like Alno Zero. It sounds funny to me. I'm
wondering if she's going to kind of become like Lala from Tula Roo, and it's just the fact that the more girls you add on, the more she gets shuffled into the background, to where she's just kind of there as like a wall of fan service for the MC to run into.
Yeah, I did notice that each girl has kind of their character role they play. I heard people saying that she's a mix of like Saber, as far as like her being like this, I guess the way she speaks as well. She speaks the old English almost style. And she's tsundere, and you got the Poppy's the kind of the mascot lolly character.
Sounds like Sekirei.
Yeah, I mean each character has
that's a good comparison right there.
And even Mia has that, I guess, girlfriend, maybe kind of wife role that she's maybe that kind of character. Always wants to take care of the main guy. So.
She's got first girl locked in.
Yeah, definitely.
So she's going to win. Well, she's not a girl though, so it doesn't count. First monster.
She's a person. It counts.
No. The law of anime states that the first girl wins. It doesn't say the first monster girl wins. So it's not a character.
Did he meet Smith?
Yeah.
What? She is the first girl I think that he did meet, so Smith would win, I suppose.
Yeah. And speaking of Smith, I want to see the other characters she hangs out with in the ending. Anyway, they show like a Cyclops. I think it's a zombie. There's like
why is the Cyclops the sniper?
Well, it makes sense to me. I mean,
he only gets one eye to snipe.
She probably has like the best vision out of anyone, probably. So it makes sense that she would be that. But yeah, I want to see those characters. I know there's a dual hand leader, kind of like Celty. There's one of those characters. I think there's a couple of elves in there.
It's like a doppelganger or something.
Yeah, there's one that can shapeshift to be anyone they want. So, but yeah, so far it's got a lot of fun characters. I mean, I enjoy it every week.
Right.
Even though I think most people look at it like, it's edgy, but it is. That's what the show is. So. If you're not a fan of that, you're probably only watching this.
Right. Next show is Renpo Kitan, Game of Laplace Fosh. Let the hate flow through you.
I have a lot of issues with this series. I think it's trying to be edgy and cool, and it's really not. I mean, I think it's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you have the main character who, like the first episode where he is holding a weapon in his hand, There's a lot of blood everywhere, and the teacher, cut up in pieces and kind of sewn into a weird, like a chair, I guess. So, and the character kind of doesn't freak out at all. He just kind of like sits there like, "Oh, this is cool." And he gets pulled in an investigation. They think he's a murder victim, or he's the murderer and all this. And he just thinks it's just a cool thing. Like he thinks it's awesome. It's like his life's now, it has meaning now. I'm like, that's stupid. I mean, everyday people wouldn't be like that, but I've had several arguments that obviously main kid is messed up, psychologically he's messed up. I don't really buy into his whole character at all.
I have no issue with them kind of drawing a character that takes the opposite viewpoint of that, but it seems a little bit too darn enthusiastic.
Yeah,
they could kind of pull that characterization back like a notch or two, and it would probably be a little bit more believable.
Yeah, I agree. And they have the whole, his friend. I've been hearing from people say that, I guess it's a manga of this, that character doesn't exist anywhere in the manga, I don't think. The friend that's always like, don't do this, always telling his friend to back off. I don't think he exists as far as I was told. But yeah, they always have the subplot of, him being gay, obviously, for the other kid. Because when he's in the changing room, he's kind of blushing always around him. So they have that subplot going on, and the whole thing that he had to cross-dress to get kidnapped by. So I was just dumb. Like I was like, you're gonna get yourself killed. I kind of hoped he would because I didn't like him. But, because like to go that far. I mean, I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to save those girls in the other episode, but it's like that's a little extreme. You're gonna get yourself seriously hurt. You find the wrong person, and he has no problem with it. He thinks it's just an adventure. I'm like, people are dying. Why almost like you're getting off on this. Like he enjoys it. And even like the junior detective they have is just something that's so stupid too. Like he's a smart kid that the police have hired, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's always, I guess he's taking pills to keep himself awake. I don't get that either. That part of me is just so stupid. And he breaks the pills up with things. I think almost like I was waiting for him to snort it. Like he's gonna snort the pills now. Trying to be edgy again. So I don't know.
Yeah, they really are tossing a lot of just like macabre, weird stuff into the blender and just kind of putting it on pulse. Just okay, this looks like a good blend.
Yeah.
And another thing that making the main kid kind of a girly looking character. I mean, I understand design wise why you would do that, but for me, it doesn't really play into the plot at all.
No.
They're using it as a way to throw some yaoi in there, which is fine. If girls want that, I don't have no problem with that. It's just I think it's just shoved in there just for the sake of to make it interesting, and it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, but I would say I even got the argument from before I had Psychopaths. Did this better, and I think Psychopaths is way better than this series, as far as the murder cases go. It's more interesting.
Have you seen past
episode? Tries too hard. Yeah, I've seen up to episode 3.
All right. Yeah.
I didn't see 4. I kind of was watching it. I was like, nope, I skipped it. I'm not watching anymore. But yeah, this again, I also don't like the main character. How he's, I mean, I think they're trying to make him cool when he's not. People kind of overhyped the show a lot when it first started coming out. But I mean, if you like it, that's cool. I mean, that's all you.
Yeah, I think you hit on how I felt with episode 1 in the phrase "trying too hard," because I think it was too busy trying to explain to us that this character is this, and even some of the execution of things in the first episode, like when they were one by one revealing people as the main character had interest in them. I think it was something that they did a little too much in just a short period of time, and we had already seen those characters and in some way kind of pieced, the potential significance of a character like that. I just thought that it was trying too hard to set the table for us, and there just wasn't any proper setup.
Right, and especially after they solved the case with the whole Philip being turned into furniture thing, they had the teacher. I guess they kind of revealed that the chair she was sitting on the whole time was actually someone's body. They cut it, and they showed the rib cage, and the teacher runs out and jumps out the window. As soon as that happened, I was like, no, I'm done, because that was just goofy. I'm like, that's like something I would see in like Looney Tunes. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, are you wanting to be serious? comical? What is the show trying to be? I'm kind of confused what it wants to do.
Yeah, I've seen fans of the work kind of say, well, it's this throwback to that Arrow Guro or Guro Arrow style.
Right. Yeah.
It seems to me that it's a misrepresent. I mean, I don't know the style. I'm not familiar with it. I'm certainly familiar with macabre fiction, and this seems kind of like a very, very tongue-in-cheek kind of let's take the piss out of this kind of thing than it does as an homage. I mean, every episode opens up in celebration of this guy's passing on and the contribution he made to Japanese literature. It seems like they're really not representing him very well.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a problem. But yeah, again, if you like the show, I'm not gonna say you shouldn't watch it. You know, watch it if you want. I mean, it's fine. I just don't see the appeal.
Don't watch it.
Yeah.
Unless you like murder. I mean, unless you are, clinically a psychopath in real life. Then maybe you like this, but I can't connect to the character, sorry.
There were days when we expected a little more from Noinamina. Not these days. Yeah. Those days are done. Next up is Sore ga Seiyu, Bosch.
Yeah, I'll try to be fast by this one. It's kind of about, I guess, if you like stuff like in Shirobako, the voice acting side, this is more on that, but taken more of it as a comical. I don't think it's ever going to get really deep, dark, and serious about the characters' careers or futures, but it's fun seeing that they introduce like voice actors and they actually have the actual person. It kind of looks like them too a little bit when they show like certain characters walk in. It's kind of fun seeing that. But as far as that goes, it's about 3 girls that are just trying to break into the Seiyu business, and I guess one's really successful at it. One's kind of okay, and the third one's struggling. Like she only has like minor parts. Like she's voicing like a mascot character who says one thing only, and that's it. That's her job. So it's just more about that. I guess I haven't really seen any technical things being explained besides them explaining what voice actors do. I mean, I kind of know all that, after seeing so much anime. So it's again, I think it's for fans that like Shirobako. If you like that kind of, you want to know more about how anime is kind of sort of made. This one's kind of, I guess, a cute version of that.
Next up, flash back to you for Himoto Umaru-chan.
This one's go ahead.
I was just going to say I watched this with my Anavision co-hosts, and they were loving it, and I'm just sitting there going, like, I don't like this girl. She's too annoying for me to watch, and I can't like the show because I know that's what the show is going to be. Her being lazy and making him do everything and him constantly giving in.
Right. I think Highway had the same problem with like you did. He did not care for her at all. Yeah. He's like, I don't really want to watch any more of this. But for me, I like it because, again, when this coming out, I was curious. I checked out the manga. The manga made me laugh, so I was looking forward to this one. And yeah, like you said, that's pretty much the show. The little sister's obviously gonna throw a tantrum, throw a fit, and the big brother gives in and does what she wants. That's pretty much
the
theme
show's
of the
getting
show.
a lot better when it has other characters on board.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
They
introduced the new girl, I guess Kirei, was what her name was. Yeah, she was pretty fun.
Yeah, the girl that has problems with people, interacting with people.
Yeah, I completely agree with you what you said, that when they show other characters besides the brother and sister, interaction, it gets a little bit better. It's not so much her being a little, whiny little kid. Even she goes so far as to invite one of the friends in that she kind of knows a little bit, and she's still in her like disguise, little hamster outfit, and the other girl kind of buys into it that it's someone else. So that kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit, but that's fine.
I can't wait for the review.
Yeah, I can't wait for it.
It's gonna be good.
Umaru is that character that she is outside of her own home is so much in that character's mind that she cannot possibly imagine that she's a squat, chibi-looking hamster thing. It's kind of like it's kind of like at the point they're like, oh, Clark Kent is Superman, and people are like, no, that dweeb, he can't be the most powerful man in the world.
Well, the way I see it, at some point they're going to expect the two supposed sisters to be in the same place at the same time, and then we're gonna have some real issues. But whatever the case, it's just hilarious. That whole situation is so funny right now.
Yeah, I like it like that, and obviously I love all the video game references. If you like video game references, they reference I think Call of Duty, Platoon. There's a Mario Kart in the opening.
Monster Rancher.
Monster
Hunter, not Monster Rancher. Those are different games.
Yeah, for fans of video games, this is like all over that. Like they had a Call of Duty episode, was pretty funny.
Even though she had
a flash. Yeah, zombies. They had that. But yeah, I like that. Those little shout outs and just generally how the character acts. Like you said, at school she's this way. At home she's completely different. So it's almost like you get two characters in one. I kind of like that, how they can play with that. But yeah, I'm waiting for the big secret to be revealed. Obviously, the other girl's gonna find out eventually. I hope. But yeah,
I think so.
But yeah, I think after episode 1, I hope so. Anyway, it gets a little bit better. And like how she eats snacks, she has a Coke with this, and everything's like thought out. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's like what was it? But that chocolate thing, not bonbons, but
mushrooms, chocolate mushrooms.
Oh yeah, and then like chips and Coke.
I feel like cheesy fish sticks. I was like, what? I guess that's
right.
Yeah,
she was eating.
That's a thing.
Like I guess
I've never seen that before.
I guess it was dried squid and cheese. I guess it's a good combo. But yeah, her just
she would like
everything
Sona's cooking.
Funny. Yeah, she probably would. Yeah. And but yeah, it's fun. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, but other than that, it's just a good series.
All right, and our last of the original shows is Jokumachi no Dandelion, which is just whack.
Yeah, it is. I guess Gavin go on that one.
Yeah.
Yay, my screen share is all goofy now.
Whoa.
Oh, there was the Dandelion Girls.
Yeah, I had it up there for a brief second. This, I'm a sucker for moe shows when you get right down to it. So this had an interesting premise to it, and the fact that you have, a royal family, and they're very exclusive, but they live in the middle of town. They don't follow the succession of primogeniture. In other words, the first child gets to be the next head monarch. They have it to where the citizens of the country get to choose who the next monarch is, which that's a weird constitution constitutional monarchy has.
You're basically making government a popularity poll.
Yep. Yeah, it's basically American Idol.
It's like a Shonen Jump.
Yeah, and just like they have it in Britain, the royal family is everywhere in the news, and so they have them everywhere on hidden camera, not so hidden camera, keeping track of them, keeping track of their popularity, finding out who's the most popular.
Their panties.
Their panties, of course. All the dirty laundry is going to be aired out.
Urchel's underwear on TV is going to get famous.
And it's harebrained schemes and cute shenanigans. And then one of the more recent ones, the second youngest daughter, Hikari, the elementary school girl, she has the power to make things grow or shrink.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
She'll commonly she wants to be an idol so she can increase her appeal so that more people will vote for her as the next monarch. And in that ambition, she makes herself from an elementary school student to a middle school student. And so that way she can, get into the idol business. But the thing about it is she goes under an assumed name and an assumed character, and so any fame she gets would not transfer to her princess. And she didn't realize that the entire time. When they finally dawned on it, she had that heroic BSOD screen of death, kind of
She's still just an elementary schooler, so I don't blame her.
Yeah, well, just like the youngest sister, her weakness is that she's 10. So that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But along the way, you get little cute and endearing stories like the two youngest, the 6-year-old and the 4-year-old, going on a shopping trip together. And
that was great.
Yeah, I loved how she just talked to the dog, and it was just like, can you just please let us be on our way and stop barking at us? They're like, oh, sure, I just didn't know who you were. You're at my fence. What am I going to do, not bark at you? I got a job to do with it.
That was a good one, yeah.
And then the next dog was like, I'm off my leash. Screw you. I'm going to eat you alive. And then, that means the young boy has to activate his power and save their lives or do whatever.
I did in episode 1 or 2 they had to do that competition on TV and show the powers off. I like that, get to the roof and whatever. It was cool just how they showed everyone's abilities. and a lot of them have cool, unique powers. I like the girl that can split herself into all different personalities. I like that. That's a pretty cool power, I guess, of her. But we
Yeah,
haven't
I hope
seen
we
it
see
used
more of
yet.
that.
Yeah, I want to see more of that, how it comes into play. And you have, I guess her name's Akane, the main girl, I guess I would call her. She's a
Oh,
part of like Gravity, which I've seen in other manga, book about like the hero, whatever, Academia, and I like how they use it in this one. But I'm thinking if you've got flying abilities and you wear a skirt, like why don't you wear shorts? I mean, come
Yeah.
on,
Be
it's
like
kind of obvious to
Mikoto.
me, but
I
maybe
agree.
she's not that bright. Yeah.
Wouldn't be very ladylike to wear shorts
Right, that's true.
under your
That is
skirt.
true. But
I
but
really
yeah, I like the
don't
characters in
like
that.
Akane.
Yeah, she's
She
the one thing I don't
just
like about her is
whiny,
just her.
whiny, whiny,
Yeah,
whiny, whiny.
yeah. Her fear of the cameras kind of gets annoying after a while.
Yeah, get used
I
to
would
that, I
say.
think. It's just, I mean, yeah, get used to it.
Right.
Every single appearance she's had, she's whining. Like I just can't deal with that. Like someone shut her up, please. Like the show is
Right.
infinitely better when it's about her siblings instead. Like any sibling, give me any of them else. Like just not Akane. I can't stand her at all.
Yeah, and I like the older brother. He's got a story going on with little that girl that someone's interested in him. Like kind of like that story. So they do more with that. Kind of I guess a cute thing they got going with that character. But yeah, as far as the other characters go, like you said, Akane is very annoying. She does whine a lot. Kind of wish you could get over that. But so far, all the characters are likable. I kind of want to see more of the powers being used from the other characters, but I assume that'll be a little bit later on. And as you're speaking of the girl that can grow things, it was funny. She made Akane turn into a little kid. That's funny.
Oh,
And one of the
yeah.
other girls,
27, not 7.
yeah,
Aoi picked her up and did that I'm taking her home with me routine.
yeah,
Like they did. He started off in Higurashi.
yeah, that's
That's
pretty funny. But yeah, it's a fun series. I mean, I was kind of surprised about the powers being introduced. I didn't know about that when I first watched it, so that was kind of an interesting twist they threw in there.
All right, let's. That's enough of the original shows right now. There's some that we haven't gotten to, but we just didn't feel like there's enough to talk about, or maybe it's already being blogged.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about returning shows. We start with Gatchaman Crowd's Insight. Last season that we saw this about a year and a half ago or something like that ended pretty messy with a mostly recap episode and then just kind of a strange ending. And then we have a director's cut that led into this season, which hopefully kind of clarifies things a little bit more and also kind of get your mind set for Insight. So how have you guys been liking Insight so far?
I'll go ahead with this one and just say that, like you said, they released the director's cut. I've seen the episode, I think, Double Zero of Insight. Kind of showed a little bit more. They had one of the girls that didn't transform, also didn't transform. I forgot her name. I know she's the leader of the crowds, but that was cool throwing that in there. It was just weird that they really haven't explained how she got recruited by them, but maybe I forgot last season. But they introduced new characters in this show, and I kind of like the new characters more than the returning cast. I mean, obviously, people obviously know that I don't like Hajime. I find her to be somewhat annoying at times, but this season's done a lot better with her. She's not as loud as she used to be, and maybe she's more quiet. Because obviously focusing on the new characters, which is, I guess, a refreshing thing for me.
Yeah, she still feels significant, Hajime, but she also more feels like one of the Gatchaman instead of
she's
this season when we
calmed
focus.
down.
Right.
She's more focused on the job now.
and talking to her boobs with
talking to her boobs. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
But
those parts pretty funny, but yeah.
Yeah, the new characters I like more. I really like Tsubasa. I think she's going to be a pretty good character this season and much less hyper than Hajime ever was.
I think more people have thrown around that she's the counter to Hajime. That Hajime is just voice, loud character, while Tsubasa is not so much. She is kind of loud in her own rights, but not as hyper. But I'm a fan of the voice actor. I mean, she's been doing a lot this season, so anytime I hear her, I always like it because I always think of Madoka from Lagrange, so I always think of that. But
and it's kind of different with Hajime, how she always kind of just did things because she wanted to. Like she really didn't like with Tsubasa, you feel a sense of justice with her that that scene when she wanted to protect Rui, and the way that she's been talking this season, that there feels like there's a bit more reasoning behind what she wants to do as a Gatchaman instead of us kind of just being carried along by Hajime.
Right. Yep.
Let's see. Our next show is Aquarion Logos. We got episode 4 out. Fosh, how has this been since the beginning? Because I have not watched yet, but what was explained to me about the first episode has me concerned.
Yeah, I mean, her episode. I mean, a lot of people kind of, going off Evil. It's kind of hard to get to do that because we're going to Logos. I guess the team behind it is completely different. You don't have some of the original writers. You don't have them from season 1 to season 2. But yeah, so far, I mean, a lot of people are kind of confused on this because the characters are vastly different than what we were used to with Aquarion. Even down to the points of like the fusion moments aren't really like they used to be back in the day. You don't have the big, fusion gotcha moment. It's just kind of like they kind of toned all that down. So I mean, a lot of it's kind of toned down, I would say. And character-wise, for a couple of seasons they kind of build the team up for you. In this one, the team's already existing. So they kind of add 2 extra people to this team. So or I guess 3 because they introduced Karan, who's this little girl who's kind of wanted to be an idol, but not really. But so they introduced her, and that kind of again the team already existed, and I'm kind of disappointed that the fusion is usually between three machines. This one's only done between 2 machines, which is kind of a letdown. Yeah, for now. I mean, there are 6 pilots, so I mean they could easily do the third one being maybe a weapon. I think is what they'll probably end up doing, or make it a lot bigger. But yeah, so far, I mean, if you like Evol, I think you may not like this as much. A lot of people are kind of griping on that they loved Evol a lot. I mean, everyone who watched it was a big fan of that. Once you get used to how goofy it was. This one doesn't really have that goofy moment yet. It's not very. I think it's super serious. I think what I would say. It's more serious than the previous seasons.
Which is anything but the appeal of Aquarion.
Right. I mean, Aquarion is an absurd series. It's very out there. I mean,
the goofiest thing right now is probably the main character himself, because he just doesn't care. Main character does what main character wants.
Yep.
Right.
He just walks in, takes a machine, takes it for a joyride, defeats the bad guy, comes back.
Yeah.
Holidays work.
And you can't really lock him up because I guess he's like he can get out of any situation. I guess he's Houdini basically.
Yeah.
You can't lock him up anywhere. And I also like the main girl. I think her name's Maya. She's kind of the same, where she's an airhead, and I guess she's like an alien character or whatever. She comes from another world, and everything in this world is very strange to her. She's not sure how things work.
I thought she was just. Didn't they just keep her isolated for a long time? It's not a different world, just.
Well, I mean, for her it's a different world because she hasn't really interacted with anyone before, so all this is kind of new for her. She even gets lost in one episode, but yeah, I mean, if you like Evol and the original, this one's not as great. I mean, I think it's only half of what Aquarion used to be. What I consider it.
It's a crippled Aquarion.
Yeah, I mean, there's no goofy moment, there's no silly moment.
That's really
that happened yet. So.
I just want to add.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that I think the opening is terrible.
Yeah, the opening is not that great.
I don't like it. There's nothing. I don't think it's terrible, but it's no great shakes.
Yeah, it's no Akino or whatever.
Yeah, that's what pissed me off when Foss told me that. Like, how can you not have Akino as the opening?
Yeah,
I don't have a thing against Main, but this isn't her best song. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she's always been hit or miss. I always associate her with, I guess, Macross Frontier. So for me, I always. Yeah. Every time I hear her, I think she's Cheryl. Every time I hear that.
Brain Diver.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some pretty good openings. But yeah, Aquarion Logos is. If you're a fan of it, I would say try it. Maybe get to the first 3 episodes. I think they're building towards something, but it's gonna take a while. This is gonna be 20 episodes. Yeah.
Aquarion Aval was something that I could like say, oh man, you like some of these crazy shows that they put out, you ought to try this. And then Logos kind of comes along, and I don't feel the exact same way. I can't go like, oh my god, you have to watch this.
Yeah.
Sky, how are you feeling about Symphogear DX?
Symphogear DX. I'm liking it so far. I'm a real big fan of when they have different kind of magic systems thrown into it. So this whole idea of alchemy and alchemy puppets kind of dancing around and being able to toss their magic around too and bringing more noise in and teleporting and doing all that stuff is kind of interesting. It's a neat wrinkle on what they built up on before. There's a lot from the original 2 shows that I've probably forgotten about, so Fosh could probably fill in a whole lot better than that. But I kind of like the new. I like the new villainess. I like that magical alchemy angle that she's bringing with her.
Yeah, I like the new villain's cool. I mean, first 2 seasons, the villain was basically a scientist who had their own ideas of how to control the world or blow up the moon. The blowing up the moon was a big thing in that series. They want to blow up the moon. I think the first 2 seasons cover that about the moon. They have blown the moon up and it causing this great calamity and all this stuff. But yeah, Symphogear, if you don't know what it's about idols, kind of almost similar idols who basically sing and transform so the magical girls. I kind of consider them like techno magical girls because they're using a lot of tech that they look like they're using. And this season is just a new twist. They're destroying the girls' Symphogears. Basically, the gems they've been using for the first 2 seasons, they're destroying them. So basically, the girls are now powerless. They can't fight back. So this introduces a new concept of new outfits coming later on, new transformations. So I'm curious about that, how they introduce the alchemy side, like Sky was saying, towards the Symphogear, like kind of combining both to make something new. So I'm curious to see what kind of new transformations we get, or if they're gonna be the same thing, just different colors. I assume same thing, different colors, just to save budget and money. Because all the budget and money goes into like these over-the-top transformations.
If you remember the transformations in the first season, you have to say they've certainly come a very long way.
Oh yeah. I like how the new one has changed how they transform. I like that. It's different
it adds like
compared
a
to the
little
first
bit
2
of it adds that like weird, I guess, Symphogear material, like the thing that was taking over Hibiki in was it season 2? Was when they discovered that it was taking her over.
Part of both seasons, yeah.
Yeah, and so like it seems like it's more of a theme in their transformations now. You get to see like that kind of characteristic material thing appear, and then it goes on their body, and then it turns into the suit. And, it makes sense. My one complaint about this season is just like we need to learn more about Carol's motivations and fast, because I'm getting tired of this whole let's destroy the world that everyone lives in, including myself. Okay. It's like something out of Austin Powers or something.
Right.
Just gotta watch it burn, baby.
And she's a mystery too, because in the opening and even the first episode, she has flashbacks of like, witch trials and things like that.
Yeah,
so
that was weird.
I'm guessing she's from another timeline. Maybe she's a time traveling alchemist. We don't know. And like you said, her motives are kind of, we don't really know what she's planning besides blowing the world up. And they introduced Elfin 9, which is the homunculus. I thought she was going to be the sister of that character, but she's not.
Well,
but it's interesting that she's kind of, I guess because it doesn't have a gender, basically. And I guess she's kind of taking charge of maybe missions for the girls from now on. I thought that was kind of interesting that she actually has a role to play. So I'm curious what they do with her. If maybe, if she really is going to help them, or is she going to betray them in the end? I don't know.
It's really weird because in Legend, kind of like when the alchemist uses the homunculus, sometimes the worst aspect or a specific aspect of themselves is distilled out of them and goes into the homunculus and different stuff like that. So I'm wondering if Carol had hesitancy, if Carol kind of thought, no, maybe I shouldn't be doing all this terrible stuff, and then put all of her nice bits, all of her hesitation into the homunculus and got rid of her. And then, I'm going to steal your stuff, and I'm going to go off and save the world.
So if maybe there's a way they can get them to, I guess, combine, maybe fix her. I guess that's maybe something they might end up doing.
Squish her back into her.
Yeah. And again, like it's the characters. I mean, I think my favorite still is Chris. She's just, I don't know what about her. She's just fun to watch. She's just very, very interesting. And I think episode 3 or had the musical number with them singing
Beast showing up.
That came out of nowhere, but I was like, oh wait, yeah, this is Simple Gear. We do sing, so it works. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the series. I mean, I love the over-the-top action moments. I think episode 1 has the best way to save a space shuttle ever, like blowing up half a mountain. It was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just non-stop action in the episodes. It's great. I mean, it's fun. But I guess the only downside is now is Hibiki's going through this little bit of mess. She's doubting her power and all this. And I don't really like that, but it's fine. I guess it works.
That's standard for the show. It's how
yeah.
much can you beat the crap out of this poor girl and see how much she can come back. I mean, that's
I just thought her issues came out of nowhere. I mean, it's like episode 1, she was happy and saving people using her power and all that. Episode 2 hits, not so much.
I can't sing. I can't use my keyboard.
Yeah,
well,
that came out of nowhere for me, but
it's
I guess
technically still in line with what's going on now, because episode 1 she was using her power to save people, and
yeah.
her current thing is now she doesn't want to fight with her powers, So
right,
but I do agree, between the 2 seasons, it does feel kind of like a sudden change in her character.
Yeah.
There was
I did kind of figure out like Mickey was going to do her thing, get in danger, so it forces Hibiki to transform. I was like, yeah, we're going to do that, aren't we? But yeah, the last I watched ended in a big shocking moment. Hibiki being like this completely defeated, and I was like, wow. And speaking of Carol, I guess I liked her dolls she uses. Each of them are kind of cool. I like how they act basically, especially the red one. She was just introduced this week, and she's my favorite so far. Of the villains, anyway.
They're all no dare.
Yeah, I like the blue one too.
Yep,
she's pretty cool.
She
got this like soul side to her where she is like the boss will tell her something, and she kind of like has a side remark every time. But yeah, I like some figure smarts. It's a pretty good new season.
All right, moving on to Dragon Ball Super. First time Dragon Ball's been on TV, not including Kai, in quite a long time. I've only seen.
I've never heard of the show. What is it?
See, it's this race of people called monkeys called Saiyans from another planet. One is sent to Earth before the planet explodes, and he becomes the Super Saiyan.
Wait, that sounds like Superman.
Who?
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I guess for me, it's just Dragon Ball Z is a thing that I think got me into anime. So seeing it come back after I think the thing is like 15 years, whatever. It's been quite a while. But yeah, this is like I guess it's taking out GT. So GT doesn't exist. It never happened. And this new season kind of replaces that. But yeah, it's more of a nostalgia, I think, for me, just seeing these familiar characters. I'm so familiar with all these characters. Who hooked up with who, their kids, and all that. I know all about all that, and it's just fun seeing again familiar faces. For me, Gintama was like that too. When it goes off the air, I'm sad. But when it comes back, I'm glad it's back. Dragon Ball, as far as sub goes, I'm not really liking the sub. I mean, I grew up on the dub, so I'm familiar with that more than the sub version.
Yeah. That's the thing that when I first started watching Super that I noticed is that I'm so accustomed to, and I think just in general I think Sean Schemmel is much better for Goku than the woman that's been voicing him for years and years and years, and the voice is kind of grating, I feel, but
yeah, especially during like any fight scene. I mean, I watched some movies back. I think they had this One Piece, Toriko, and Dragon Ball thing together. I watched that, and when they're doing like the Kamehamehas and the fighting stuff, it just sounds horrible to me. I just don't.
It's very shrill, that voice. But I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but those were kind of a very slice of life Dragon Ball, which is kind of fun in its own way to watch. You just see like Goku working on the fields, and then he's making Goten ride the thing to plow the fields, and then you have Vegeta spending time with his family and just hating it the whole time, which is just hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. He's sitting. I like the part he's sitting in this little toy train. He's got the most grumpy face you've ever seen. Yeah. And he's just like, nope, not having it, not having this the whole time, especially like you said.
Yeah. So that's been kind of a surprise, funny thing to see in the show, and something that I liked in a weird way, would kind of like more of, because eventually we're going to see Beerus start to become more of a character, instead of just seeing him going to other planets and blowing them up just because.
Right. I think that's one thing I'm disappointed with is, learning that the Battle of Gods movie has not happened in this universe yet. So we're going to be redoing all that all over again, which is fine. I mean, I think they could.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of the Battle of Gods movie. I thought the animation was kind of horrible and some of the stuff. But Toei doesn't really have the best animation around. I know they get that a lot.
And it also was silly because of, in the movie, the whole story of the sixth Saiyan, and then they had to use Bulma and Vegeta's unborn baby to be the sixth Saiyan.
Yeah, the power of Goku up was kind of silly.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope they kind of rework that where it's not so corny like it was in the movie. And Beerus, even the movie was more of like, it wasn't really. I didn't feel like he was a threat. I felt he was more like kind of this friendly guy who just wanted to fight, just like Goku. He's basically kind of like Goku in a way because he likes to eat. Yeah. He's lazy. He likes to fight. He wants to fight stronger people. So in a way, he's sort of just like Goku in certain ways.
It feels almost like the calm before the storm, before they end up fighting and then killing each other and eventually getting reborn.
Until it's like 40 episodes of the same fight,
Yeah.
I'm expecting it, Dragon Ball. Come on, I'm waiting for it. But yeah, as far as like the opening, I like the opening. It's very fun.
It's pretty cool.
And as a side note, I think you'd probably be happy that I'm kind of disappointed that Luffy's voice actor from One Piece is Krillin. I'm kind of like, Krillin's not like, I wanted to be someone else. Like, it's Krillin. Yeah. It's kind of disappointing that that voice talent is spent on a character that's not that popular. But maybe he's going to do something this season, I don't know. But yeah, it's mostly going to be about Goku. And I hope Vegeta does something this season. I hope he can be on par with Goku as far as strength goes.
Yeah, even as
Vegeta's always in the background. I hate that. So.
Right, like even as underpowered as Krillin and all the humans are, he's always found a way to kind of stay in the mix.
Right, and if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have beat Frieza because Frieza kind of used the same ability, the Destructo Disc, to kill himself. So Krillin does have his roles, but sometimes it's kind of like, leave it to the big boys, leave it to the real fighters. But yeah, again, it's just nostalgia. I'm watching it just based off that.
I wonder how long it'll go. It's a shonen show. We don't have any idea of an episode count. It could go, it could go for another 200.
Right now, I'm also curious how they're gonna do Resurrection of F as a TV thing too, or is that just gonna stay as it is?
Does it have source material it's based on?
I think the original author or creator is just
Toriyama's working on the anime.
Because I know for like a long time it was speculated that he was just going to do movies from now on, and they're going to do 10 movies based on 10 different gods that Goku fights.
Wow.
10 different universes. Yeah, that was the original thing, but I guess going with it does. But I think going with the TV version may be a better way to do that. But obviously this is a cash cow, so they're using it for that. I mean, they know if they're fans that wanted this for a long, long time. So it's like, they're gonna make money off it. So
making money off the nostalgia aspect of it, because as we've seen with like Naruto in a more modern era of anime, that was much better than Dragon Ball and the overall, like in terms of the storytelling and the character development.
Right, that's a good example.
In the shonen genre.
Yeah, that's a good example because even Naruto, it supposedly, in quotations, ended.
Yeah.
But they're gonna keep going. So it shows you there that some series, even though the series is kind of ended, they're gonna keep going. I mean, regardless of whatever they want. But yeah, money is a big thing I could see this series.
Right.
That's why it came back.
Non-Biori repeat.
Yay!
I let Scott go on that one you want.
The repeat part is really interesting because they're basically going back and they're covering the same time frame that they had from the original series. And I think that's a really effective way to frame it because, what they want to show is that despite the fact that it takes place out in the country where people assume that nothing happens, lots of stuff happens. And it's also a good strength of storytelling in the fact that you just assume that you know everything from the original series because it was, these isolated events and they moved on. But other isolated events can happen in the middle of those or between all the events that you saw in the original series. So it's a really good idea, and it took me a lot by surprise because I just thought repeat meant another word for second series.
I took it more like some of the girls failed their classes and they had to repeat another grade. That's what I took it as.
Yeah. When it went into the original one, I thought she's repeating the first grade again. She's not exactly renowned for being the most intelligent person, but they don't really cover that,
Right.
But surely she didn't fail or anything like that. How do you fail first grade?
Yeah. Well.
Especially when you're the only first grader.
Let me tell you. Just kidding.
Oh goodness. This sounds
for me, I like it because Renge is being the main character. I consider the main character. She's just always fun to watch. How she views the world is funny, and even the little, there's no video games nearby they can play, and there's no arcade, and they make up their own games. And the bit that has the rulers, that had me laughing. They're taking these rulers and just like hitting each other with the rulers on the table, like sliding the rulers against each other. And the way they animated all that, like it's super dramatic, almost like a JoJo fight. The way things are just like so dramatic, and the music playing in the background, just
the brother was a final boss.
Yeah, exactly.
And you had to double up on him.
He was Dio. He had the world power because he could He did some kind of maneuver where he could hit the ruler from hitting on the ground. It was just funny. But yeah, that series is just, I don't know. I think it's something you watch after watching all these fighting shows, and you just want a chill anime. This is what you watch.
Yeah. Non-Biori is definitely chill from what I've heard.
And it's very cute. I mean, I can't deny that. It's just, and I think when I got that beautiful animation, like the backgrounds are just so amazing looking, like so much detail. I'm like, geez, almost unrivaled with PA Works, I would say.
Yep.
With their production they can do.
Less realistic though. PWX is more about the photorealism.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but it's one of those things to where it's like, man, this doesn't look like a bad idea to have kids or live out in the country.
Right.
Kids can be cute.
If they're all like Renge, sure, but reality, no, they're not like that.
Which one is Renge in Skyline's picture? Okay.
The one with little buns in her hair, the pink swimsuit.
Yeah, she's fun.
Next up is Do Rubber Bra X2 Show 10. This is part 2 of Season 2 of Do Rubber Bra. And the pacing of the first 4 episodes in the series feels very deliberate when you think about how they're focusing on other characters and we're seeing these small bits of things that happened in past episodes and how everything is starting to link. I appreciated the Akabayashi episode because I'll admit that I did not know who that guy was until that episode. But he was one of those that you kind of see around and you think, okay, you kind of know a little bit about him. But I kind of liked his episode and how he knew the Henri's mom who had Saika the sword.
And he had the hots for. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
this could have been Henri's new daddy
Mm-hmm.
in another world. But yeah, I like how they do that. Characters that you don't really like or don't really know much about, they kind of explore, tell you more about these characters. And each character has like a interesting backstory. I like that. I mean, like I said, we're returning back to season 2, and they pick up right with Isaiah after he got stabbed. And I like how they kind of had episodes dedicated to certain characters, and they kind of stay away from Mikado. I've always been a not so fan of his character. I don't find him that interesting at all.
Mikado?
He's just Mikado. He's just very boring to me compared to all the other characters who are larger than life. Like Celti, she's interesting. Henri's interesting, but Mikado he just really isn't that all interesting to me anymore.
Well, I think that's, to me, the interesting thing about Mikado is that he wants to be one of the big wigs, but in that moment at the end of season 1, he realized how small and insignificant he was, and then now we're kind of seeing this change in his character.
Everyone else, I mean, out of the main characters, he's the most, I guess, technically human of the group, since he's not a gang leader. He doesn't have a powerful weapon.
Oh, but he is.
He doesn't.
In a way.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is, but he wants to use his group for other purposes. But I think he's starting to change his viewpoint on that. And especially when, like last season, he stabbed that guy with a pin. I was like, okay, well, obviously Mikado's got something going on. It's like in his head maybe. So maybe he was going to show more of his dark side. I would hope. Maybe. I did hear something about fire with him later on, but I won't say much about that.
Yeah. The recent episode with Verona was particularly good. She's one of my favorite new characters that was introduced in the first part, and kind of seeing her now kind of walking around with Shizuo and sort of finding like a new purpose after training and assassin's work and stuff, and now seeing that there's this human that is the sort of her goal now is to beat him.
Right, yeah. I do know that she kind of has a thing for Shizuo. She kind of has I don't know if this is a crush or anything, but I think later on there's something between those two. But yeah, it's interesting. I haven't seen the episode yet, but yeah, I like these, like you say, character episodes that are about someone that you don't really know much about.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see more about what their plans are and how they play into the cast. Because I always think of this as like, for me, it's always been like the Game of Thrones of anime. There's just so many characters to worry about. Everyone's got their own plot, their own worries, their own goals, basically. And a lot of people probably say maybe too many characters. I think the show there's a few characters they could probably get rid of, but yeah, there's way too many characters. Again, they all have their own goal, so that's kind of interesting.
Right. Skyline, you have another season of Fate Prisma Ilya to fawn over.
Yes, indeed, I do. Wow, I mean, it's one of those things that I was anticipating since the end of the last show last summer.
I saw that picture, what I got. I saw that scene. That is so erotic. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was cool.
I'm going to smooth jazz now.
If you check out my coverage for the first episode of Zwei Hars, behind one of the spoiler tags, there are some scenes from an OVA that they released before the first episode of hers, Heart, and my goodness, it's embarrassing. I mean, there's
watch alone material.
I mean, it's one of those things to where you begin to wonder exactly where Kuro learned the kiss, and not just kiss, because they really just. Except, I mean, it has censor steam and it's blocked very cleverly, but it's just one of those things to where Silver Link and that OVA just went, you know what, screw this, let's show them what they want to see. So yeah, but above and beyond that, it's got to kind of reside within the Fate universe overall, and so a lot of the slice of life, a lot of the lowly antics, they're going to give you that up front. But as the show starts to ramp up, the stakes are going to get a whole lot higher, a lot like the end of last season.
Right, yeah, I agree on that. I mean, for me, it's an interesting take on a character from Fate. Which I guess, obviously she's popular enough to get a spinoff in a third season, so obviously that character is, I guess, huge in the Fate for Fate fans. But yeah, like I said, the kissing parts. That's a very good question where Kuro learned how to do all that. It's like, because in the beginning she wasn't really around, so it's like, where did she learn all that? Maybe from soap operas or TV. I would say maybe she's been watching.
Or it just comes naturally. One of the two.
Right. Or people obviously, kind of, they did the whole speculation that Kuro is maybe all of Ilya's like dark desires, because even her love for her brothers. As Kuro, she's more extreme towards it. She doesn't mind running out there in like a see-through nightgown, while Ilya would be more afraid to do that. So I almost wondered that too, if Kuro is like the love side of her. Yeah.
Well, it's always interesting, a dynamic, because basically she's the Archer card given life, and we know who Archer is when you get right down to it. So, who is Kuro?
Right. And yeah, that part's always weird. And then you got Miyu on the side who's got this weird thing for Ilya's brother. She almost feel like she knows him. Maybe she's from another world that she knew him a different way. I was even joking with my brother that maybe she's like the kid from Rin and Shiro from Fate. Maybe she's their daughter from another world.
That's an interesting bit of speculation. We'll have to.
That'd be interesting.
We'll have
she
to see
always
that.
looks at him, and she blushes, and she kind of thinks about him. Like maybe she, thinks other things about him. But it's interesting. But I like the other characters too. The non-super powered characters are fun.
Yeah, Tatsuko is always a handful.
Is she the blonde one?
No, she's the hyper short one. She's the one that modeled the very risque swimsuit.
Yeah, and then they all get yelled at in the swimsuit store. Like, you guys keep it down. I don't know. Yeah, again, that show's just fun.
I like how her friends played that off. Stop that walking obscenity.
Yeah. And, but for me, the show you kind of watch. You don't really watch other people because it's cute, but it's got also a lot of etchy. Which is fine. I don't mind that.
Speaking of a lot of etchy, next up, Tulovru Lightbeam.
Tulovru Sunbeam Chan or Shadow, whatever. But that's just more of the same kind of. I'm disappointed that it's censored, but then I remembered first season of Darkness was censored as well, so I can't complain too much there because they didn't really do anything with that. If you want uncensored, I guess the OVAs are the best way to go. But this is pretty much the same kind of formula. I guess some episodes have 3 little mini episodes in one. Some episodes have 2, but some of them are just straight up one episode about one horror event. And this season, I think it's going to explore more of the redhead May and her master, the other character they're going to be showing off here. I think next week, I think she appears. But yeah, it's more of the same. It's nothing really new about this. Maybe I guess production-wise, it looks a little different. I mean, animation on certain characters look a little, I don't know, not as detailed as it used to be. But
it looks worse.
Yeah, it has it doesn't look as great as it used to. I can tell that the quality has gone down a lot in character designs. But yeah, I think all the budget goes into the Steam scenes, I guess, where everything's uncensored, everything's censored. But yeah, again, it's just more of the same. As if you watch the first one, you don't watch the second one, or just watch the OVAs. You want to see all the uncensored bits.
I think it's really sad how you go back to the very first season and how prominent Lala was in the series, and then you go back now and she's so non-existent most of the time.
Walking wall of fan service.
Right. I mean, in the end, I think it's more of Momo's story than anything. I kind of consider Rito not the main character of Darkness. He's there. I mean, we follow him around most of the time, but in the end, it's really Momo about her story, building the harem and all this.
And they picked a good character.
Yeah, I mean, Momo's interesting. And the only character I don't like is Nana. She's always been annoying to me. Man. She's the only one that freaks out of him doing all these things. I'm like, all the other characters are fine with it. Why are you the only one that freaks out when he's doing all this stuff? Like,
there's some characters that are not fine with it. There's some that hate it. There's some that
there's just some moments when it's like, could you quit crying about it? It's like, you've been around Rito how long? This is how he is. Get over it.
She's a Kanai Itoa character, so she's got to respond like that because that's what you're paying her voice to do.
Yeah, I know.
But also Yui. I mean, she's not fine with those things.
Right, she's not, but she gets pulled in his little event.
Yui would be fine with those things.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got to say for
all right. Let's go to Keon, who is blogging season 3 of Working. How are you liking that so far? Final season of Working.
I really like it because it seems like this is the season where they might actually make some progress with the developments, with the relationships between Sota and Inami and Sato and Yatsuyo. It seems like this is where they're finally starting to take it seriously, since this will be the last season. I know things that will happen, but it all depends on how far this season will actually take it. It's a lot on how much time they're going to actually spend with finalizing those developments that they've spent all of this time building up to.
The manga is done, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and I would assume another 12 to 13 episodes like the previous seasons were in the past, so I wonder if to get to the I just have no idea of where the manga's at if they try to fast forward to certain points where they get to getting straight to the point of the relationships that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, for me, I like it because Yamato. She's been a fun character in that series, and basically all the characters was really likable. I think it's funny going from like what you watch Dora and you watch this afterwards is hilarious because all the same voice actors. I mean, all in the same show. I think so. It's just funny listening to that, and like you said before, I can't was saying that the relationships are starting to form, especially with the blonde cook. I like their story. I like with him. I like that one. That one's really nice. They're doing something good with that one. I hope they do more with it. And in the comical bits where, you know, like the other guy's sister was explaining what you do when you drink was so hilarious.
You gotta buy that underwear, man.
Exactly. She took everything to heart. It was like, okay, I'm doing this. It was just funny.
It makes you wonder what that older sister sees drinking as, for crying out loud. I mean,
yeah.
Is it what she does for every single social activity available?
That's true. I wonder that too. Like, it's very funny. But yeah, I mean, even the whole you gotta say I'm drunk in a sexy way was funny. So, but yeah, that show just got a lot of good fun characters, and like Keon was saying, I really hope they, you know, develop these relationships a little bit more. You know, and I hope Yamada's brother finally finds her. It's like, come on, kid.
I think
It's like it's not hard. She's right there.
The thing with the relationships is that in the past seasons, even when they would make like a little bit of progress, they just go back to the previous state before, right afterwards.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, when Sato didn't really like confessed almost the first time, they pretty much went right back to normal right afterwards.
Yeah,
and
that's
that way continuously throughout. So it remains to be seen whether they actually keep the progress made rather than going back to the way things were before.
Right. It's almost like the characters have amnesia. After episodes end, they restart.
Yeah.
So, you know, especially Yamada, who, you know, as much as I love her, she forgets a lot. She's very, you know, airhead, but
Yamada fans represent.
Yeah.
Here's a question: how old do you think Yamada is? Really?
Ageless.
She said that she's 17 because Shoto is 17, but how old do you think she is?
Probably like 40 something. To be hilarious.
She's probably. I think she's 14.
See, for me, I think she looks younger, but I'm pretty sure it was the episode where Popura was talking about her exams, and she asked Yamada, and Yamada had actually taken entrance exams. So that's kind of throwing it off.
Yeah, Yamada could be a college dropout.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna act like this kid now, and took over a new persona.
Who is Takanashi going to end up with? Is he going to end up with Popura, or is he going to end up with Inami?
A water flea, actually.
There isn't really a whole lot of him and Popura in my anime.
If I had to choose, I would say Inami because they established that in the beginning when he was trying to, you know, I guess help her get over her fear of men. So it's like he went out that to the extreme to help her. I think that kind of shows me that there's something between those two characters right now. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm more interested in the older characters, I guess.
Yeah.
And what happens with them. Since they've been working there for so long, it's like they probably have more relationship together with other characters than some of the younger characters.
All right, and our last show to discuss is Fosh Idolmaster Cinderella Girls Season 2.
Yeah, this one is just more of Idolmaster from the first season. I mean, we have the same kind of characters running around. The next season kind of introduced, I guess, a big plot drama point where, I guess, a new owner came in, or new producer, whatever you want to call her. She came in and she's now redoing every little group now. So now there's a drama of, will certain people get kicked out? Will they stop producing some of these idols? Because they took down everything for the idols. They took down these banners and everything, so the office is completely different. All the main kids got put into this like basement level office that is pretty run down. So the new girl's redoing everything. So it's a little bit of drama, wondering who's going to be staying around, who's going to get kicked out. So more stress, I guess.
They're being downsized and renamed A-Tech.
Yeah, they're definitely being downsized. That's for sure.
They're gonna build their own idol rocket ship.
Yeah.
Oh no! As long as it's not giant idol robots.
Anzu's the pilot.
I would say they tried that a long time ago. And
Did not work.
Idolmaster Zenio or whatever. But yeah, this new season.
God, I watched one episode of that before my brain hopped out of my skull.
Yeah, I won't talk much about that series, but yeah, New Cinderella Girls it's interesting because they introduce some kind of drama into the series, so maybe there might be something more developed in the show besides cute idols doing the cute things they always do. So I'm hoping there's some seriousness thrown in this season.
Is that Miku?
Hmm. Who's your favorite idol, Miri? Who's your favorite idol? Futaba Anzu.
Yeah, the forever one.
Blasphemy with the cat. It has to be Miku.
Nah. Female cats don't get along with each other.
It's hard for me to decide which one I like, but I'm pretty sure at the end of the series we're gonna have the little Idolmaster waifu wars to figure out who likes what and make fun of each other for liking certain characters. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much Idolmaster.
Your text ain't no idol.
And speaking of waifu wars, let's go ahead and wrap up the podcast with one sort of extra category for our favorite characters of the season. Let's start with female characters. For me, there's a few that I like. I don't really. You'd think it'd be the prison school girls, but not really. They're so. I don't. I'm not a masochist in that sense. Boy, I don't know. I mean, I do like Alex from Gangsta. I've always found that sort of character look attractive. You guys have any characters? Well, I'm trying to look through and find one that I genuinely do like.
I think I picked one from Roko no Yusha, the Rabbit Girl. She was pretty fun. I mean, certain characters on Monster Girl that are really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And even Aquarian Logos has Karan, the idol / voice actor character. She's fun to watch too. But if I had to pick one from the season, just one, I'd probably go with Mia from Monster Girl. She's just fun to watch.
I have to say, my favorite female character this season, surprisingly, is actually Kajo Ayame from Shimoneta, because you can't forget about her. She's so crazy. There's just something wrong with her, but it's all right.
Everything wrong with her is all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would throw her in there. Yeah, she's fun.
She stands for justice in that world.
Yeah, she's not doing anything wrong. Run around naked in a bedsheet with pains on her face.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's normal for her. I mean, that's normal. Yeah, that's fine.
She's got balls.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
I'm
surprised Scott didn't throw all the girls from Gate into that one, but the two.
Can I only pick one?
Yeah, mine's a three-way tie between Rory Mercury from Gate.
Right.
Now from Charlotte, and the Lowly triplets as one person from
You have a triplet within a triplet. Oh goodness.
Well,
Let's go deeper.
if they stand on each other's shoulders, it's one character.
I feel like you're cheating a little bit here with your one favorite character.
These are lowly characters we're talking about for the most part, so I can do whatever I want.
They're like Transformers. You just combine them all, and then it equals one character.
I see.
Kim?
I'd probably say Hana from Prison School. She's just such an entertaining character, and all that's down to her voice actor
Mm-hmm.
and how out there that role is for her, but it works, and it works really well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Getting back, I'm going to go with Smiley's option of Ayame Kajo. She's just incredibly fun and very crass and dirty. I like that about her.
There's no limits whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, that phone, the flip phone.
The male character favorites. This one's harder.
Mine would be I have a few, but for mine would be like the main guy from Charlotte, episode 1. Just him being a general asshole with his powers is pretty funny.
I wish he were. That's one thing. Getting back to Charlotte that I didn't like in the episodes that I watched is that he kind of felt like just a member of the club.
Mm-hmm.
I liked his character enough that I would have wanted to see him be more of a presence than
Be more Lelouch.
Yeah.
But I guess if I had to choose one guy, I'd probably Nick from Gangsta. He's just a cool character.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's husband material, but yeah, he might kill you. I don't know. If you get along with him, maybe. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah. Back to you, Smiley.
Yeah, I find Adlet from Rock and Lahusha very, very interesting. He's just so sure of himself and so sure of the people around him too. He just doesn't hesitate to trust Flemmy just because she has that tattoo on her, even though she's been going around killing all the other potential heroes. But just like the way that he carries himself, he's like, yeah, haven't you heard of me? I'm the strongest man in the world. And then, like, oh, you haven't heard of me? That's surprising. It's just he's so confident. I just love that about him.
He reminds me of the main guy from No Game No Life. How he was kind of the same.
Sure,
He's very confident in his abilities. Like, yeah, I can do this. Whatever. It's fine. He's like, I'm good.
Scott?
Nagisa Kiryu from Classroom Crisis. It's going to be interesting to see how he juggles all those balls he has going around, and whether or not he develops those to be able to get together with Angelina.
I thought for sure you're going to pick the main kid from Rampo Catan.
I get the best of both worlds. Is that what you're saying? I do have my limits.
I'd say mine is Itami from Gate. I think they do a really good job balancing his military side and his otaku side, and how he's just in the military working for his hobby, and that's it. And neither one really takes much precedence over the other.
And I like his main
prominence.
goal. His main goal, like, I'm gonna find a cat girl. That's like his main goal right now.
He's
really determined.
He had the best girl in the series already.
He's a soldier, but he's not really the gun-ho type about it throughout the series. And then he's an otaku, but you almost kind of forget it at times because there'll be a little bit where you won't mention it, and then you'll just casually talk about it.
Yeah.
Or like in the latest episode when he finally got signal on his phone, and he got updates for the web novel.
Yeah. Tommy's my favorite also. In episode 2, I believe it was, he said frequently, because I'm humane, and that's kind of what his character's been like throughout that show so far, is that it hasn't been distracting his hobby of anime and all that stuff, which has been pleasant to watch for the show, and that he's just in general pretty good character. Maybe not great as a leader of a recon team, but he's doing okay for his assignment.
And he's actually a very good leader.
Yes.
The only thing he lacks is respect from his subordinates.
Right. I was like, he's a Pokemon trainer too. He's got to collect all the girls, man. He's gonna have like the biggest fantasy harem ever by the end of the series. Maybe he can cross over the Monster Girl and get some of those girls. That'd be great.
All right, and that has been episode 59 of the MetaVerse podcast. Anybody out there that watched and stuck with us for the we're coming up on 3 hours. What is this, a Giant Bomb podcast? Oh my goodness.
2.5 hours.
Giant Bomb's much longer. Last I checked. Those things take forever to listen to.
Well, this was like 3 hours from the Two Best Friends podcast, but the longest I ever heard, like 2 to 3 hours. Like, oof. Long.
So for anybody that's watching us now or listening to us later, thank you for tuning in and sticking around for however long you did. I hope that we can do MetaVerse a little bit more often. Probably not weekly, which I tried to do in the spring season, but that broke bad midway through. And hopefully we can get MetaVerse back to somewhere about twice a month or so. No guarantees, of course, because you never know when I'll just suddenly feel like gaming again more so. But thank you for tuning in. So for Fosh, Smiley, Keon, and Skyline, I'm Jero. We will see you next time on MetaVerse.
Yep, I'm gonna end it right.